Chapter 30. The Iron Maiden, 2, you are listening at novelfull.audio. The Iron Maiden, 2. Whoosh. A sickening sound could be heard as I stepped on the deep puddles of blood that appeared at random spots in the area. The sight of corpses stacked on top of each other wasn't anything new any longer. Not a single fresh spot could be seen on any of the rotten corpses, and the smell that lingered in the air was unmistakably the smell of poison. This had once been a land that was brimming with life. Now, rotten poison had sunk deep into the fissuring ground. I wondered how long it would take for a land of this magnitude to get back to its normal state. A few centuries. Even that long might not be enough. I concentrated chi around my body to protect myself from the poison in the air as I walked. Sichuan, once a lively and bright land, had become a cursed land. No humans would be able to live here anymore. After walking for some time, I finally came across the person responsible for poisoning this land. She was laying on the ground, seemingly quite calmly. Her eye sockets, which once harbored bright green eyes, now had nothing within them. Instead, blood could be seen welling up in each of them, with streams of the bright red liquid flowing down from each socket. It's over, Poison Queen. The Poison Queen, Tang Soil, who had been looking down with her hollow gaze, turned up at my voice. It's you. Her spirited voice was gone, and what was left was a tired one, laced through and through with a sense of defeat. It's quite amusing seeing you staying here, even though your own family ran away a while ago. Did you think that anything would change if you tried protecting this place by yourself? Nothing will change. Then why? Tang Soil covered her mouth with her sleeve and smiled. Then how come you came here? That is a stupid question. Isn't it obvious? I came here to take your last breath away from you. I see. Whoosh. I walked slowly toward Tang Soil. And as I walked closer, the poisonous chi strangely got fainter. Tang Soil stayed here so that the rest of the Tang clan could move safely to the Shaolin sect, and there they began making plans in regard to what would happen in the future. Then, what about Tang Soil? How foolish. What was left of the woman who stayed behind all by herself? Perhaps if the orthodox factions won the war, she would be remembered in history with one line. With the sacrifice of Tang Soil, we were able to ensure a peaceful future for the world. Something along those lines would be left behind. How pointless. 2 days. 40.8 hours. That was the time Tang Soil spent fighting against demons in Sichuan all by herself. Both of her eyes had been gouged out, the land of Tang was now filled with poisonous chi, and in that amount of time, a countless number of demons had been killed. But in the end, it was all pointless. The war wouldn't end as long as the heavenly demon remained alive. As I arrived before her, Tang Soil opened her mouth. I am sorry. I frowned upon hearing her ridiculous words. Apologizing to a demonic human. You've lost your mind, Poison Queen. Yes, perhaps I've finally lost my mind. I wish I could have lost it quicker. I'm only now able to see the things I couldn't before after losing my eyes. Your nonsense stops here. Are those your last words? I slowly grabbed her neck. It felt like if I put even a little strength into it, it would break instantly. I'm in no position to ask for this, but if there is time left in the world. While her body was shaking, she was speaking with emotion that I could not understand. Maybe it was her grudge, or the regret she felt for being the sacrifice. Nonetheless, it wasn't something I needed to be concerned about. I hope you, Tang Soil tried to utter something, but I could not make out what she said as her voice didn't come out. Without hesitation, I put strength into my hands. Crack! With the sound of something breaking, Tang Soil's head drooped downward. When I let go, Tang Soil's body collapsed to the ground in a fashion similar to a puppet whose strings had been cut. The blood puddles were already contaminated with poison chi. Even if she had been immune to all kinds of poison while she was alive, with this lifeless body of hers, which had no chi, she would quickly rot and melt away. She couldn't even save a single limb of her body, even with all this sacrifice. However, that was what being a sacrifice meant. I then turned around and moved my steps to get out of the land of Sichuan. Was it because of the poison key? I felt sick just standing there. This land. BL.net and I as well. Are you not going to respond? My reminiscence ended. I hated how I would only remember things at times like these. My eyes met Tang Soil's. Only one of her eyes glowed in green, as her immunity to poison hadn't been perfected yet. But in a few years, both her eyes would emanate that green radiance. The Poison Queen Tang Soil, no, she's probably only known as the Poison Phoenix by now. If you won't respond, I'll call a person. Tang Soil was speaking, but Namgung Bai Ah whispered to her. Upon hearing Namgung Bai Ah's words, Tang Soil let go of her cringed expression. Then she moved closer to me and showed respect. I am Tang Soil of the Tang clan. I apologize for being rude to our guest. That was a fast decision, made without any hesitation. I am Gu Jieliab. I responded in kind, but I obviously used Gu Jieliab's name. I seriously need to stop this. Maybe I should just reveal it now. This wouldn't even have worked in the first place if my name had been spread out even a little bit, but how come no one cared about my name? Well, if this was my past life, then, in a year, my name would come to be known as the piece of shit of Shangxi. Tang Soil spoke while I was trapped in my thoughts. I see. Young Master Gu, this place is prohibited for outsiders. Isn't the lady of Namgung next to you also an outsider? It's fine since our family allowed her in. So basically, she was telling me to piss off as I hadn't been given permission to be here. How unfair, honestly. Then again, I was about to leave, so it didn't matter either way. It was also hard to deal with Tang Soil's sharp glare. Why is she giving me such a death stare? Did she really hate me that much just for coming here? Then I'll be taking my leave. I moved along with Seol.ah after ending the conversation there. After we left, Namgung Bai asked Tang Soil while looking at her. Soil. Yes. Why did you stare at him so fiercely? I don't like how he didn't apologize even though I told him outsiders aren't allowed here. Ah, does he think that being handsome fixes everything? I always hate guys that think that way. Huh. Handsome. What? The boy's face suddenly came to mind as Namgung Bai heard Tang Soil's remark. With his sharp eyes, no, he could be said to have a sharp face in general. Sharp eyes, a sharp nose, and a sharp mouth, when combined, they formed a frightening rather than a handsome face. It definitely wasn't ugly, but handsome was a little far-fetched. However, it was a wonder that she could remember the details of his face so perfectly, as Namgung Bai was a person who could forget almost anything. Sigh, I prefer a person that's nice and kind even if they are on the uglier side. I see. Tang Soil mumbled words like handsome guys as she started walking forward. Meanwhile, Namgung Bai slowly trailed behind her. As she walked, however, the question mark floating above Namgung Bai's head did not disappear. A night had passed after we arrived at the Tang clan, and it was now morning. When I opened the door to my room, still in a drowsy state, I saw two faces that I did not want to see. Namgung Bai and Namgung Changjin. The two Namgung siblings in blue attire were in front of me. Why are they always coming to me and getting on my nerves? Can't we just act like we don't know each other since we've reached the Tang clan? I opened my mouth at that shitty sight. What brings you here again? There was no way Namgung Changjin wanted to visit, so I spoke while looking at Namgung Bai. It was most probable that this son of Namgung was just following her like a dog. Namgung Bai answered my question while looking at me. Food, food. What food? We have to go eat food. Yes, you may. Why come and report to me if you are hungry? Just go eat. Namgung Chanjin, who seemed to be frustrated with the conversation, specified. The Tang clan invited us to a meal, but my sister said that it'd be nice for young Master Gu to come along with us, which is why we came here. I see, thank you for letting me know. I'll pass, so enjoy your meal. I disliked it even more now that I heard the explanation. No way am I eating with the two of you. Namgung Chanjin frowned, as if he did not expect me to decline their offer. I could see his true emotions leaking out. How dare you, it was visible on his visage. Of course, he fixed his expression right away. I don't have a good appetite right now. You can enhance your relationship with the people of the Orthodox factions, young Master Gu. I'm shy with people, and I would like to eat in a comfortable atmosphere. You are shy. The last sentence was from Namgung by Ah. I gave her a sharp stare, to which Namgung by Ah quickly avoided my eye contact. Anyways, I won't be going, so enjoy your food. The military exhibition of Tang would be starting around afternoon time tomorrow. I was planning on eating whatever I could and focusing on training in the meantime. If I were to eat alongside them, I didn't think I would be able to maintain a normal stomach. After my rejection, however, Namgung Chanjin came closer to me with an expression that showed his true feelings. How about you come along with us? Namgung Chanjin grabbed my arm while he spoke. Rather strongly too. It was out of Namgung by Dada's sight, so he didn't bother managing his facial expression. The face Namgung Chanjin had as he stared at me was one that was filled with hatred and annoyance. Grip he put more strength into the hand that was grabbing my arm. He was going to bring me by force if I kept refusing him. What now? What an annoying hassle. Why does everyone keep giving me bullshit? I'm trying to leave quietly, but things just keep coming at me. I could already feel his desire to kill me, regardless of how he tried to hide it. I had been hoping for him to be at least a little bit of a help in the future, even though he was crazy in my eyes and just a psycho in general. And I was constantly trying to restrain myself since he bore the name of Namgung, but he kept doing things that made me want to just go all out and fuck the consequences. Or, should I just kill him? Swoosh. After the events of my past life, I had also developed my own killing intent. But I always made sure to keep it under wraps. Unfortunately for Namgung Chanjin, I involuntarily released a small part of it. Ah! He backed up immediately with a shocked expression on his face. Sigh, this was a genuine mistake. I quickly calmed my mind and fixed the atmosphere around me, but Namgung Chanjin was already looking at me with widened eyes. Because of the young body I had, it wasn't easy to control my emotions and the air around me. Thankfully though, the killing intent didn't reach Namgung by Ah, so she simply tilted her head in confusion, wondering what was going on. I awkwardly smiled while looking at Namgung Chanjin. I felt like I had to go now. Since you are offering so much, I can't decline, can I? Let's go. I put my arms around Namgung Chanjin's shoulder. It was really uncomfortable as he was taller than me. Namgung Chanjin looked like his pride had taken a hit when he backed off against me, so his surprise quickly gave way to a sudden surge of anger. He seemed like he was about to throw me off, so I put some strength into my arm and whispered to him. Get a better grip of your face, your precious sister is looking at you. Crack. With his anger doubling at my mention of Namgung by Ah, he audibly clenched his teeth. I held back my laughter at the sight of his actions. However, he seemed to take my advice as he fixed his expression some seconds later, the mask of a kind smile manifesting over his face once again. Thank you for coming along, young Master Gu. It's nothing at all, I can't refuse you if you are asking with this dedication. Ha ha ha. We both laughed while hiding our true thoughts. I didn't care about his hatred towards me, as we wouldn't be seeing each other once we part ways. And even if we did see each other, it would only be at meetings of the Orthodox faction. So, let's just end it here. He won't try to do anything as there are eyes watching anyway. But even so, he is the son of the Namgung clan, so he must have some thoughts, right? I then quickly realized. This guy doesn't think, and so, in the upcoming afternoon, Namgung Chanjin spoke to me. Young Master Gu, would you like to spar with me? This Gu Gilead like piece of shit. Chapter 31. Only 3 times. 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Only 3 times. 1. 2 hours before the incident. I had just arrived at the dining hall alongside the crazy Namgung duo, and a cursory glance of the dining hall told me that only the young prodigies were here. The only person in the room who seemed to be well over the age of 20 was Tang Juyok. Sichuan was known to have food with a particularly strong taste, and their spicy food was known to be the most famous of them all. There was a ton of food on the table, but the smell of spice that poked my nose was almost too strong. It feels like I'll have a stomach ache just by smelling them. Thankfully, there also seemed to be mild food that had been prepared for people who were weak to spice. Eating dumplings again, even in Sichuan. Maybe it's not a bad thing. Tang Juyok looked at the people that had gathered with a smile, and shortly after, called his family members to taste the food, one after the other. It was done to prove that the food that had been prepared was safe to eat, as they were a clan known to be proficient with poison. Of course, I didn't know how much that would actually do to help in gaining their guests' trust. It's not the best, but I hope you enjoy the meal. Shortly after Tang Juyok spoke, everyone slowly started to eat. Now that I'd thought about it, I came here without letting YCOL.A know. I hoped that she wouldn't get mad at me. I couldn't be sure, but I believed that she was taking good care of herself. I kept trying to move my chopsticks towards the food, but I was forced to stop. It was because of Tang Soyol, who was sitting next to her brother, but instead of eating, she kept her eyes glued on me. I'm gonna get sick at this rate. What was up with her now? I kept repeating the process of grabbing dumplings and letting them go because Tang Soyol's fiery eyes wouldn't stop staring at me. What made this particularly irritating was that this same scene was something that had always occurred whenever we met in my previous life. All she would do is stare at me without saying anything. I had once grown so irked by it that I'd verbally lashed out at her. What was even more absurd was the fact that she cried right in front of me, straight after I did that. All I did was scold her a bit for staring at me, and suddenly she started crying. Sigh. I guess I have to deal with her staring at me even in this life. Did she have some grudge against me or something? I didn't think I'd done anything to the Tang clan, though. Maybe she wasn't fond of me eating dumplings. Or maybe it's just the way I look. I was used to people saying that I had bad facial expressions, so comments like that didn't really faze me. I finally decided to simply ignore her, and then I grabbed and ate a dumpling. Cough. Fuck. I almost spat out the dumpling as soon as I bit into it. Why the hell is it so spicy? I'd let my guard down, and if I spat out the food here, everyone would definitely stare at me. While I was busy dealing with my conflicted thoughts, someone next to me pushed a glass of water towards me. It was Namgung by Ah. I was startled at first, but I quickly took the glass and gulped down the water. What in hell did they put in their dumplings to make them so spicy? After downing the water, I heaved a sigh of relief and turned to Namgung by Ah. Thank you. Namgung by Ah nodded at my words and carefully put something on my dish. I wondered what it was, so I looked at it, and it was a piece of grilled fish that had been ripped apart from its bones. I looked at it with confusion. This one isn't spicy, huh? It looked like you couldn't handle the spice. They were all looking at me. I'm thankful, but why are you speaking to me informally all of a sudden? Young master. Is she looking for a fight? I was wondering if she was looking to get into an argument, so I looked at her face, but her expression told me that she bore no ill intent. But then why is she acting like this? I didn't like how I was being treated like a kid, but, seeing as she didn't seem to have any ill intent behind her actions, I couldn't really say anything about it. Crack. I looked toward the origin of the sound of something breaking and found that it was the chopsticks that were in the hands of Namgung Chanjin. Tang Juyak spoke after being surprised. Ah, it seems like you were given a poor pair of chopsticks. No, it's just that I tend to use chopsticks rather harshly. I apologize for that, Chanjin. I'll bring you a new pair right away. There's no need for that, Brother Tang. I also apologize for breaking other people's things. I'll be careful next time. After showing his respects, he glanced at me. I purposely ate the food that Namgung Bai had given me at that moment so that he could see it. Then his eyes trembled like crazy. What part of any of this was so important to him that it made him this mad? I honestly couldn't understand. I ignored him and only picked mild dishes to eat, and the meal ended soon after. I wanted to leave right away after eating, but Tang Juyak probably hadn't invited everyone here just so that we could all enjoy a meal together. It was a dining room that had individuals from the Namgung clan, the Gu clan, as well as other guests within Sichuan who had been invited over. It probably wasn't something grand in scale, but my guess was that the goal behind his actions was to have a small alliance formed between those of us present. After the meal, most of the conversation and questions were directed at Namgung Chanjin. He was from one of the 4 noble clans, after all, so it wasn't surprising that he would get most of the attention. At the start, conversation had been directed at Namgung Bai as well, but it quickly stopped after those who had approached her experienced her short, impassive answers. Yes, those were the responses she gave, so any interest the guests had in conversing with her died off quite quickly. The Gu clan was also known to be on par with the noble clan, so there were some people that came towards me with the intent of conversing. I only spoke to them briefly whilst maintaining a subtle smile. When I looked at the number of people Namgung Chanjin was speaking with, I felt a vague sense of admiration. I would get tired instantly if I had been tasked with speaking with that many people, but that Namgung guy instead seemed to enjoy it. It really is his specialty. While I was sitting down mindlessly, waiting for it all to end, I felt someone sit next to me. I wondered who it was, and when I turned to look at them, I found that it was Tang Soil. Tang Soil let out a fake cough and took a sip of tea while acting like nothing was wrong, but I saw that her ears were slightly red. She was acting weird, the same as she'd done during the meal. Lady Tang. Yes. Do you have something to say to me? No. I don't. It really seems like you do, though. While I was staring at her with my brows furrowed, somehow her ears turned even redder. Then she suddenly lowered her gaze, as if she couldn't take it anymore. Do I really look that scary? She really doesn't have to sit next to me if I am that bad. Why is she acting like this? Cough. Cough. Tang Soil suddenly started coughing, as if she was choking. She hesitated for a while after recovering herself, and then quietly whispered to me. Young Master Gu, do you, perhaps have anyone you like, Brother Tang, is that the training area down there? She had been trying to ask me something while fidgeting, but her whisper was quickly buried by Namgung Chanjin's voice. When I looked out the window, I saw that he was asking about a big building outside. Tang Soil had been trying to ask me something, so I turned to her. Lady Tang, what were you saying? Nothing. You say that, but you're giving a death stare to Namgung Chanjin. Well, she'll ask me again if it's really important. Tang Juyak responded to Namgung Chanjin's question. That's the training area restricted to those from our Tang clan. Did I not show you the last time you came here? It is quite big to only be used by those from the Tang clan. Well, we make sure that we clean the place properly, but no one really uses it, as we each use our own training areas. Namgung Chanjin looked at the training area with a strange look and spoke to Tang Juyak. May I take a look at the place? I would like to see it once. Well, it seems like everyone here is done talking, so would everyone like to take a look at it? Finally, the final course. If I had known that I would have to deal with all of this hassle, it would have probably been better if I just snuck away from home and come here in secrecy. It would probably have been the cleverest way. I never thought that I would connect the word clever with the second elder in my life. I would have never guessed, the inside of the training area was cleaner than I'd expected. They said they didn't use it often, but it seemed to be cleaned rather frequently. Compared to the training area I had used when I beat up Gujiliub, this training area looked to be at least 4 times bigger. Was it really necessary for them to make it this big? Oh, maybe that's why they don't use it. Making it too large would make the training less effective after all. This training place really had nothing else going for it besides it being big, but everyone seemed to be really interested as they were all martial artists. The floor was made of hard materials. It wasn't made out of some common stones, and it seemed like it would be immune to marks left in the wake of sword slashes. Was it so big because they would use ranged poison weapons? But then shouldn't they have made it so the walls were easily penetrable? It's very grand. Namgung Chanjin spoke while taking a look around. It was made this big by our ancestors, thinking that bigger is better, but I personally can't see it. Such a fine training area. It's a shame that it's not being used. It's usually more effective for each to train in their own training area, so this place is mostly used for competitions rather than actual training. Competition, huh? Back then, Soyol and I would use this area a lot as she would always want to beat me. But now that she is all grown up, she doesn't want to anymore. Brother! Tang Soyol yelled at her brother as she stood next to me. Then she gave me a sidelong glance. Namgung Chanjin grabbed a wooden sword that was hung on the wall and swung it a few times. His attitude aside, it looked like he wasn't called the lightning sword for nothing, as his movement seemed flawless even though he wasn't putting in much effort into his swings. Since we've finished our meal, how about some brief spar so that we can digest our food? Everyone's eyes lit up upon hearing the lightning sword's words. They seemed excited at the idea of being able to duel with the lightning sword, as it was a rare chance. But then, out of nowhere. How about it? Young Master Gu. Did I mishear? Namgung Chanjin confirms that I didn't, as he was staring at me with a wooden sword in his hand. Young Master Gu, would you like to spar with me? Me. I thought I'd misheard, but it seemed that I hadn't. Not to mention, he specifically chose me as his sparring partner. I could see right through his intentions. This motherfucker. He was looking for a way to let out his pent-up anger. Of course, I wasn't going to accept such a useless challenge. I'm not going right as I was about to decline his challenge, no. Everyone turned towards the voice that cut me off. It was Tang Soyol. Tang Soyol's face rapidly reddened, as she herself didn't know why she had spoken up. But she continued to speak. Young Master Chanjin and Young Master Gu have an age gap, which means that there will be an experience gap as well, so how would it be fair for them to duel? What if his face gets hurt? It's alright. We won't use our chi, and it'll be a learning experience for each other. Namgung Chanjin spoke with a smile on his face, acting like he was a good person. Which made me smirk at his words. Learning experience. Not using chi. He just wanted to use this as an excuse to beat me up. I don't know why he's so obsessed with me. I asked Namgung Chanjin. Is it possible? I spoke with a little bit of emotion in my words. What is? You say learning experience, which means that you are trying to teach me something, but is it possible for you to do that without using your chi? Everyone gasped at my words. I, who had barely spread my name around, was questioning the capability of Namgung Chanjin, who belonged in the category of 5 dragons and 3 phoenixes, while also asking the son of the Lord of Namgung clan, blue heavenly sword, Namgung Jin, if he could provide me with enlightenment. At this moment, Tang Juyak quickly interrupted as he noticed that the conversation was going in the wrong direction. Young Master Gu, Chanjin is your senior, aren't you too harsh with your words? Of course, I'm capable. If you like, I can duel you with just one foot. Namgung Chanjin was smiling, but I could see the veins in his neck due to him holding his anger. Then let's do it. A long time ago, someone told me I should always hold my anger 3 times. I was told that I had too much of a fiery attitude in a world where one could only live long if they understood their place. My response was always the same. That guy is being such a dick. But you being a dick in return would just make both of you dicks. Then I'll be a dick. How can a person always hold in their anger? What kind of dickish words? Why is the conversation like this? Isn't it technically a compliment for them to say that I'm fiery since I use flame martial arts? If it's nothing severe, just hold your anger 3 times. Then you will be able to survive. I never really listened to this advice. But not long after, when those words became that person's last wish, I tried my best to follow the advice. It was indeed important to know my place in a world like this anyway. I think I held it in 3 times already. In the middle of the training area, I stood in front of Namgung Chanjin. I think it's been 3 times since Namgung Chanjin crossed the line. Maybe not. I feel like it's been more than 3 times. It's even better if it's more than 3. The fucker was still smiling. He was filled with confidence that he wouldn't lose. Or perhaps he is just happy that he could finally beat me up. I'll let you have the first attack. Yes, young master. I wasn't going to decline that offer. It had been a while since I didn't fight while using my chi. He slowly picked up the sword that was on the ground. He was moving slowly on purpose to make me put my guard down. I went closer and let my fist loose. It was a basic straight punch. An expected outcome. Namgung Chanjin's expression was saying that as he dodged by slightly tilting his head. I mindlessly swung my fists. I didn't put any skillful movements into my attacks. Not that I'm able to right now anyways. Only the sound of me swinging my fists in the air could be heard. Namgung Chanjin spoke after effortlessly dodging my fist along with a sneaky kick. It's my turn, as it seems that I've seen everything from you, young Master Gu. I didn't respond. Namgung Chanjin swung his sword shortly after. As expected, his movements were fast and sharp. Whoa, being this fast despite not using his chi, praises from the crowd could be heard from the spectating area. Namgung Chanjin's swordplay definitely deserved the praise. He had no flaws in his movements while also being able to swing with speed and sharpness. One swing after another, I was able to barely dodge his attacks. But he didn't seem to be confused. He was expecting this outcome with the attacks he'd been putting out. Suddenly, Namgung Chanjin put strength into his legs. I could see the slight movement in his shoulder. Namgung Chanjin then put out his third attack, seemingly not giving me any time to think. Of course, the first few attacks had been feints, and this one was his real attack. The sword was aimed at my shoulder rather than my head. Then I extended my hands out. Pow! Thump. Talk. Ha! The word came from Namgung Chanjin's mouth. He looked at his hands, and then at the wooden sword that was now rolling on the floor. What the? I looked at Namgung Chanjin with a bored expression on my face. There was nothing impressive about his movements anymore. What are you doing? Namgung Chanjin's eyes trembled upon hearing my question. I dared say that I knew more about Namgung's swordplay than he himself did at this moment in time. The countless number of times where I had to personally stop the demonic sword after she went insane. And the countless times I saw Namgung by Dada swinging her sword in the middle of the night. Her swordplay at that time was already far ahead of Namgung's, which had visible weaknesses. Of course, the Namgung by of this time period was just spectating with a dumb look on her face. But, the ultimate master of the Namgung clan who had far surpassed the current lord of the clan and destroyed their entire clan, was none other than her. And comparing the swordplay of the demonic sword to him, Namgung Chanjin was only capable of showing me the weaknesses the Namgung clan had in their swordplay with his slipshod display. There was no possibility of me losing when we didn't use chi. I spoke to him while he stood in shock. Are you not going to pick that up? If not, then I guess I'll go next. Chapter 32. Only 3 times, 2, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Only 3 times, 2. Tang Soil had always been unique compared to others. This uniqueness was particularly glaring when one looked at her early life. While other children chased after cute dogs and kittens, she looked for reptiles like snakes and lizards. As she grew older, she went from chasing after snakes and lizards to chasing after beasts like tigers. Her sharp visage, which resembled that of a fierce animal, made her seem like a natural predator to weak animals. That was why, in the past, when the idea of a marriage between the Namgung and Tang clans was proposed, she harshly opposed the idea. Tang Soil had never really liked Namgung Chanjin. Everyone said that he was handsome, but he looks like a playboy. She felt disgusted every time she looked at him. She had never fallen for Namgung Chanjin's looks, and she even felt a bit creeped out by the aura he gave off. She had always found him odd. To her, his kindness had always seemed laced with hidden motives. She couldn't understand why everyone else lost their minds when faced with Namgung Chanjin's appearance. In comparison, Namgung Bai was a much better person. Although she was quiet and unexpressive, Tang Soil felt that she was genuine. Namgung Bai had always accepted Tang Soil, even when she had treated her harshly. Tang Soil liked Namgung Bai who accepted her despite her difficult personality. She was touched when Namgung Bai kept her promise about her coming to the next military exhibition of Tang, but she wondered why Namgung Chanjin had also come along. Wherever Namgung Bai went, Namgung Chanjin was never far behind. Why? Whenever she looked at them, Tang Soil got the feeling that Namgung Bai didn't like Namgung Chanjin all that much. However, her impassive expression made it difficult to figure out how she really felt, and Tang Soil didn't feel like she was in a position to ask Namgung Bai about it. Right, Tang Rang. Grr. A huge wolf with black fur, it was one of Tang Soil's pets. Tang Soil softly sighed as she pet her pet. You're so adorable. I wish all men in the world were like you. While she wished that were the case, Tang Soil knew that such a thing wasn't possible. Namgung Chanjin, the guy from Moyong, and the Peng clan's Peng Wujin all had soft, kind-looking faces. Why do all of them look so much like playboys? Plus, the guys from the Namgung and Moyong clans made her feel uneasy whenever she was with them. As for the last one, Peng Wujin is just a weirdo. Tang Soil felt a creeping headache as she remembered the scenes of Tang Jiyak and Peng Wujin causing trouble together. It's no wonder that I and Peng he became close friends on our first meeting. We both have weird older brothers. I think the last time I met her was when her engagement was annulled. I forget what clan she was going to marry into, then again, I don't think she actually told me. All Tang Soil remembered was Peng saying that he was a piece of shit, and that she was happy that the engagement was cut off. Are there any cool men anywhere? Tang Soil, who was currently going through puberty, yearned for a romantic encounter. On the night of Namgung Bai's arrival, Tang Soil invited her to see their lake. The Lotus Flower Lake was a masterpiece of the Tang clan and was restricted to outsiders. No one was allowed in without permission. The lotus flower that floated above the water was, after all, a valuable sacred herb. Apart from the lotus itself, the lake and the fish that inhabited it were all luxuries. According to Tang Jiyak, the lake was made too extravagantly by the professionals. Tang Soil honestly agreed with that statement. It looked super pretty. But other than that, it had nothing going for it. While they were slowly walking through the night, Tang Soil asked Namgung by Ah. By Ah, how was your trip here? Yes, though I did get lost, you got lost again. Namgung by Ah was abnormally talented at getting lost. One moment she was going the right way, and then suddenly she would go off in the wrong direction by herself. Maybe it's her emotionless personality, Tang Soil thought. Well, at least you made it here. I was nervous. I had a companion. A companion. Yes. Is she talking about the people of a different clan that they had come along with? Tang Soil had heard that they were called the Gu clan or something along those lines. She honestly didn't really know them. All she knew about the Gu clan was that it was the home of the famous tiger warrior, that the sword phoenix came from that clan, and that they were the mightiest clan of Shangxi. They were a clan that didn't do many outside activities, so Tang Soil didn't know much about them aside from those three facts. A descendant from the Gu clan coming to this year's military exhibition of Tang was also unprecedented. Maybe Tang Juyak knows about them since he's the young lord. You mean that Gu clan? Yes, huh. For a second, Tang Soil thought that she had seen a smile on Namgung by Ah's face. She had never seen Namgung by Ah smile, ever. They continued their walk through the night with a cool breeze blowing around them. It seemed like Namgung by Ah didn't really want to go back after all. Then they came to a stop. They felt a presence ahead of them. It's not my brother. It was actually two people. Their faces weren't visible due to the shadows, but they weren't from the Tang clan. Who are you? Tang Soil asked. They seemed to be surprised by the voice. It didn't look like they were enemies, so they were probably guests who came here without knowing that the lake was a restricted area. This place is prohibited for outsiders. The moonlight slowly revealed their faces. Tang Soil stopped after catching a glimpse of their faces, particularly after looking at the boy's face. No, perhaps it would be better to say that time as a whole stopped for her at that moment. Thump. Thump. She felt her heart thumping like crazy, as if it was on the verge of exploding. The boy had jet-black hair, sharp eyes and an expression that seemed slightly irritated. It resembled the face of a fierce animal. I doubt if you aren't going to respond, I'll call, my voice is shaking. I stuttered a bit, did he notice? Tang Soil didn't understand why she was suddenly nervous. Namgung by Ah, who was quietly next to Tang Soil, whispered to her about his identity. He was from the Gu clan. I am Gu Jialiup, said the boy. Gu Jialiup. Even his name is cool. Wait, what am I doing? What was I saying? What he had said and how she responded. She couldn't remember any of it. She just wished that the crazy thumping of her heart would stop. Tang Soil realized at that moment that she was in big trouble. This isn't good, I need to get out of here right now. The boy left before she could gather her thoughts, and Tang Soil pretended that she was calm and spent the night that way, but in truth, she couldn't get a wink of sleep. The next day, Tang Juyak said that he had invited every young person that had been invited to the event to an early meal. Tang Soil felt instantly energized when she heard his words, even after not being able to sleep through the night. Calm down, please, she told her heart to stop, but the thumping continued regardless of her wishes. What if he comes? What if he doesn't come? So what if he doesn't come? Tang Soil couldn't understand her own thought process, and as she debated with herself while seated next to her brother. The boy arrived. For some reason, he had his hand around Namgung Chanjin's shoulder. Were they friends? The atmosphere between them proved otherwise, though. The meal had begun a while ago, but Tang Soil couldn't even tell if the food was going in through her nose or her mouth. Her eyes were only on the boy. Those sharp eyes. They're so cool. Ah, he can't handle the spice. Ah, he's coughing, so cute. After some mindless thoughts about him, she suddenly found that she was sitting next to the boy. Am I crazy? What am I doing and why do I feel so experienced at this? Her moving to sit next to him, consciously done or not, was a good move, but the problem came afterwards in the form of her small voice. Tang Soil was going crazy looking at the face of the boy, who frowned a bit because he couldn't understand her intention. Some servants had once told her that if a person felt too good then they would start fidgeting, and at this moment, Tang Soil finally understood what they had meant. I feel like I should say something. But what should I ask him? Is there any poison you like? I'm good with daggers, so would you like to have a duel? Maybe not these questions. Favorite food? Yeah, let's ask something normal. Why? Young Master Gu, do you, perhaps have anyone you like, Brother Tang, is that the training area down there? The words that had finally come out of Tang Soil's mouth were buried by Namgung Chanjin's voice. Lady Tang, what were you saying? The boy had asked her kindly, but Tang Soil couldn't repeat the question after saying it once. She just told herself that she would one day put poison in Namgung Chanjin's tea. That guy even interfered in the training area. All of a sudden, he wanted to have spar with the boy. Tang Soil unknowingly shouted, opposing the idea. No, what did she mean by no? Well, there was the gap in experience, and there would definitely be a difference in skill. The face. What if his face gets hurt? That was the main thought Tang Soil had. What if that precious face of his got scarred or something like that happened? If that visage of a beast looking down on everything got scarred? Tang Soil felt like she would do anything to ruin Namgung Chanjin. Despite Tang Soil's objection, the boy accepted Namgung Chanjin's challenge. Namgung Chanjin had said that he wouldn't use his chi and one of his feet, but he was still the lightning sword. Tang Soil wondered if she could even touch Namgung Chanjin's clothes if they fought without using their chi. That was his reputation as a martial artist. Perhaps the only person that stood a chance against him was the Sword Phoenix. During that moment, Tang Soil was only able to watch nervously. Should I interfere if he's about to get hurt? But on what grounds? Yeah, what right do I even have? While she struggled with her thoughts on what to do, Tang Soil looked at Namgung Bai. Bai. Namgung Bai's expression was the same as always, but she was holding onto the handle of her sword with her hand. Her face seemed a little different than usual, and her breathing seemed a bit faster too. Was it because of her little brother's duel? But it looked like she wasn't really looking at him. Suddenly, Namgung Bai's eyes widened. Tang Soil wondered what had happened, so she immediately turned her head to look. Tang Soil couldn't understand what she was seeing. The wooden sword that was rolling on the floor, and Namgung Chanjin, who was on his knees, and then there was the boy who was looking down on Namgung Chanjin. She didn't know what it was, but she felt tingly. She unknowingly let out a hot breath of air while feeling tingly. The beast that she had dreamt of. So what if he's weak? That face of his is perfect. That was what Tang Soil had thought at first, but now those thoughts had changed. The boy asked Namgung Chanjin while looking at him. Are you not going to pick that up? With those words, the boy took a step towards Namgung Chanjin. And Tang Soil instantly dropped to her knees. I can't understand. That was the sole thought running through Namgung Chanjin's mind. Why did I let go of the sword? After I attacked his shoulder, I was going to attack his leg. He had been thinking of how he would bully the guy, and had already been having fun just from the thought of it, so. Why? Why did I let go of the sword? His arm was aching from the pain. His wrist was turning red. I let go of the sword in that short moment. But then, why didn't I notice? How astounding. Namgung Chanjin lifted his head at the voice. The guy who had come closer to Namgung Chanjin was now looking down at him. Geniuses always have some thoughts or other during duels. If this was a real fight, you would have probably died 3 times already, you know that. Namgung Chanjin was about to respond but quickly moved away. It was because of the incoming fist. He was successful in dodging it, but because of his broken posture, he couldn't dodge the next attack. The kick landed on Namgung Chanjin's chest and made him roll on the floor with a groan. Ugh, while he was struggling to breathe, the wooden sword was dropped into his hands. Pick that up. You said this would be a learning experience for me. The boy then clapped his hands immediately after. Oh, or maybe I'm the one teaching you. That, I'm pretty confident about. Crack. The taunt that came from the boy's smiling face made Namgung Chanjin breathe roughly. Then Namgung Chanjin lifted his body up, picking up his sword. I let my guard. You're not going to say you let your guard down, right? There's no excuse more pathetic than that for a martial artist. Namgung Chanjin shut his mouth at the boy's words. Even he knew that it was a pathetic excuse. He instead quietly fixed his posture. He has some talent in him after all. He had underestimated him too much. He should have known that he had something considering he was the younger brother of the Sword Phoenix. Namgung Chanjin took a small step forward and positioned his sword to face his opponent. He was getting serious. He drew a half circle, then did a stabbing motion, retrieved the sword, and continued to repeat the process. It was a movement that he had trained for many years. Thanks to his training, he was able to be flawless in his movements while also being firm. He knew that one day he would represent the fast sword art of the Namgung. The Zenith. It was the name that belonged to the Sword Emperor during this time, but Namgung Chanjin was sure that he would one day be the one to inherit that title. I've been told that I have more talent with the sword than even the lord of the clan. So he was sure of it. Because I am a genius. But then why? Why can't I touch him? How many swings had it been? How many attacks had he made? Namgung Chanjin's sword was definitely fast. There was no flaw in his movements, and the continuous attacks had no midpoint. As his breathing roughened due to his anger, Namgung Chanjin retrieved his sword. There was no reason for him to be losing against this guy. But then why? How does he know, every time, where I will swing? The boy kept dodging his attacks by a narrow margin. The sword would skim his clothes and his hair. But it had never landed directly on him. He was using the least amount of movement possible to dodge the attacks, which meant he wasn't getting tired as well. There was no way this was possible unless he was actually better than Namgung Chanjin. So what was the answer, then? This piece of shit is stronger than me. Namgung Chanjin's thoughts started to darken as he felt his pride crumbling apart. I want to kill him. The piece of shit that was getting attention from his perfect sister. The piece of shit that was dodging his sword like it was nothing. I want to kill him. As Namgung Chanjin lost control of his desire to kill, he channeled a bit of chi into his sword. Just enough that no one would notice. Namgung Chanjin then put his all into his next attack, aiming for the boy's head. Pow! Erg! Namgung Chanjin shook and dropped to his knees. Then the boy slapped Namgung Chanjin's face. With a sharp "pa," Namgung Chanjin collapsed. This bastard. The boy, Gu Yangchen, walked closer to Namgung Chanjin and shouted. His voice was filled with anger. I was going to let you off the hook, but you, piece of shit, dared to use chi in your attack. Why? Did you want to kill me? Namgung Chanjin couldn't focus as blood flowed down his head. Wow, what a shitty feeling this is. Honestly, didn't I hold my anger more than 3 times already? As Gu Yangchen talked to what seemed to be an unknown person, he kicked the crotch of Namgung Chanjin, who was crawling away. Ag! Gasp! Tang Juyak, who had been watching all this time, flinched without realizing it. Chapter 33. Looking for the hint. 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Looking for the hint. 1. Namgung Chanjin was grabbing his crotch area while shaking. He couldn't even scream as a mix of blood and drool streamed down his nose and parted lips. The man with what had once been a great reputation had been thoroughly humiliated. The Namgung clan. The center of the four noble clans and the clan that had served as the biggest pillar of the orthodox faction. Namgung Chanjin was supposed to become the future owner of such a great clan. But that man was now crawling on the floor while holding onto his crotch and crying tears of blood. Stop overreacting, it didn't pop. I had controlled my power so he would feel the pain of his balls breaking, when they actually hadn't. Or, just enough for the injury to be treated. I had done this countless times in my previous life. Though I still wasn't completely used to my current body, it wasn't hard to do it again. Although, if I went just a bit harder, I would have been in big trouble. I had actually almost popped them. Well, in the end, nothing big happened. You piece of shit, whoa, you can still talk even after going through all of this. I was expecting him to roll on the floor for a few more minutes, but he surpassed my expectations. I went closer to him and snapped one of his arms. Crack. Arg. He was trying to use his chi again, so I snapped his arm just before he could. Even after all that had happened, I could still see in his eyes that he wanted to kill me. I spoke to him while smiling. Why cross the line so many times? I was going to let you go if you didn't use your chi. Namgung Chanjin was serious. The chi he put into the wooden sword, and the aura he'd unconsciously let out during the duel. He was seriously trying to kill me. A mistake caused by his emotions. That would have been correct at the time. But, even now, I could still see the same desire in his gaze, and killing intent continued to ooze from his person. I was quite sure of my thoughts, so I asked him a question. How many people have you killed? Namgung Chanjin shook visibly at my question. At least tens of people, right? What? What nonsense? Namgung Chanjin's voice was shaking. At this point, whether or not he admitted to it or not didn't matter, I'd already gotten my answer. Did he only kill the evil that threatened the weak? No, I didn't think so. It was very thick. His ominous aura was extremely thick, particularly for one still at his age. I didn't know about others, but it was only a matter of time until I found out. Now, why does a blood descendant of a royal clan, Namgung Chanjin, have such a strong ominous aura? Then again, it didn't come as a huge shock after I thought about the lord of the Namgung clan in my previous life. Creak. Ugh, I put more strength into the arm I had snapped, causing him to groan. Now, what do I do with him? I could completely break his arm here, or even pull out the entire shoulder. I shouldn't make it so that the injury is unrecoverable, since that would be a big deal. But then again, I had no intention of letting him go. I would be a retard if I let him go when he just tried to kill me. Young Master Gu. While I was considering my options, Tang Jiyak rushed in. How about you stop here, the duel is already amusing. It was so amusing that I couldn't hold in my laughter. Tang Jiyak stopped at the sound of my laughter. After a few seconds filled with nothing but the sounds of Namgung Chanjin's pained groans and my amused laughter, I stopped and asked him a question. Did you not feel his murderous chi? I think you did. I didn't know about the others, but someone at Tang Juyak's level had most likely felt it. That Namgung Chanjin was seriously trying to kill me. Because of that, Tang Juyak couldn't respond to my question. He put chi into his sword, intending to kill me during a small spar, but you want me to let him go. That wouldn't be right as a martial artist. Ignoring the fangs that had been directed at me was an absurd thing to do as a martial artist. I would need to at least pull out all of its teeth, if not outright kill the dumb animal. Perhaps, you thought that he made a mistake because of his young age. But he's older than me. To be fair, I'm technically twice his age, but that doesn't really matter right now, right? I put more strength into my arms, and Namgung Chanjin groaned, the pitch of his groaning slowly climbing as I put in more power. Tang Juyuk quickly responded. Chanjin is from the Namgung clan. If something were to happen to him, then many bad things might happen to you. Yes, he indeed is from Namgung. But, did you know? Kriyauk. Ag. It is only because he is a Namgung that he is alive right now. It's because of the Namgung name that I'm holding my anger in so much. But what if the situation was switched? The Gu clan was also on par with a noble clan, but compared to the Namgung clan, it still had a long way to go. But what if that was switched? He would probably still be alive, but the result for me would have been a lot different. What if I brought one of those spectators that were just watching nervously and put them in Namgung Chanjin's position right now? The answer was simple to guess. I held my anger in countless times, but young Master Tang wouldn't know, and I'm not asking you to understand me. I finished my thoughts and came to a conclusion while talking to Tang Juyuk. I put chi into my arms. An amount similar to what Namgung Chanjin had put into his sword. Crack. Namgung Chanjin shook wildly. Then shortly after, a sharp scream echoed throughout the training area. His screaming was getting too loud, so I tapped his neck, causing him to faint instantly. Then Tang Juyuk rubbed his face. He was the one who gave us permission to use the training area in the first place, so it was understandable why he felt so conflicted. Of course, that was still not going to make me go easy on this fucker. Did I mess up? I suddenly got reminded of the second elder telling me not to cause any trouble. What would I say when they found out I made a mess of Namgung clan's son? At least I didn't kill him. I would probably say something like that. The tea had already been spilled, and it would seem like the Namgung clan would do something about it, but I doubted that anything would happen when I remembered the current lord of the Namgung clan. There is still evidence that this Namgung fucker started all of this after all. And they wouldn't dare to mess with a clan like the Gu clan. I turned my back to Namgung Chanjin, who had fainted, and stood up. For some reason, Tang Soil was on her knees, watching me with a red face, and Namong Bai.A still had her stoic face. It was weird to see her like that, even though her brother had just been treated like that. Her visage held no anger, nor anything resembling a grudge. If I could, I would say that she resembled a river, flowing on without a care in the world. Here. People from the Tang clan had appeared. It was probably to bring Namgung Chanjin to a place where he could receive aid. The people from the Namgung clan appeared after them. Were they escorts? Every single one of them felt pretty strong. Then again, it was to be expected from the escorts of one of the four noble clans. One of the escorts came to me. I am the young master's escort, Machiel. The man lowered his head, showing me respect. Just by looking at him, I could tell that he was a very strong martial artist. Now that the duel is over, we will bring Namgung Chanjin to receive aid. I presume that you were watching all along, since you aren't saying anything. Machiel didn't respond to my question. So that was it. He was the reason I felt a strange presence watching me. I don't care what you do with him, so do as you please. Envy that he would struggle with his arm for a few days, but other than the arm, all his other injuries would heal in a day. The place I kicked him though. I feel like I went a bit hard, but it shouldn't be a big problem. Hopefully. Namgung Chanjin was taken away, and only his blood remained on the floor of the training area. Tang Juyuk seemed like he was still trapped in his conflicted thoughts. Maybe he's the one that's in the most trouble right now. Why would you invite all of us here in the first place if you weren't ready to deal with any surprises? I just decided to not think too much about it. In the end, it's all that Namgung fucker's fault. Why cross the line that many times? I don't think I should stay here any longer, so I shall take my leave. Maybe I can use that as an excuse to run away from the military exhibition of Tang. That would mean I would get an additional day to look for the secret vault. My clan would scold me for it, but my main goal here was the secret vault after all. Father wouldn't care that much, but the general or the second elder would very likely give me a scolding. Then again, the second elder would probably agree with my actions, so I would hopefully only get scolded by the general. As I turned to leave, someone grabbed my clothing. It was Namgung by Ah. What's the matter? The people of the Namgung clan left a while ago, so why is she still here? Did she have something to say about Namgung Changjin? Namgung by Ah finally opened her mouth after staring at me for a while. Your name, what? Tell me your name. I told you already. I told her that I'm Gu Gilead, did she forget already? Namgung by Ah responded without any shaking in her eyes. That was a lie. You lied. Tell me your real name. How does she know? Namgung by Ah was looking at me with the utmost confidence that the name I told her was fake. In my previous life, she would sometimes have sharp senses regarding unnecessary things. Before that, I would like to ask you something. Yeah. It was an important question. I asked her while looking into her eyes. Why do you always speak so informally to me? Namgung by Ah broke eye contact, unable to answer. Is she really looking for a fight? Namgung by Ah looked at me again, and finally answered. If you aren't going to tell me, I'm going to keep following you around. Young master. I almost collapsed. Is she crazy? Did she already know that I hated her following me around? Let alone me lying to her. This crazy bitch, was she like this even in her young age? I'm the one who just made your brother into a bloody mess. You know that, right? That was Changjin's fault. Even so, why try to be friendly to the person that just beat up your brother? No matter how much I tried to push her away, she was persistent in not letting me go. I don't think she would surrender after she'd come this far. What if she follows me around forever? I got goosebumps from that thought. I wouldn't put it past her, considering all the mess she caused in my previous life. What's so great about me for you to be so curious about my name? Namgung by Ah didn't give me a response, instead, she continued to stare at me. I frowned and rubbed my face at the difficult sight before me. How did it come to this? If I don't tell you, will you continue to be annoying? Yeah. As well as your informal speaking. Yeah. Yes, young master. Sigh. I sighed at Namgung by Ah's responses. I feel like I'm sighing more often than before these days. I hesitated for a bit, then spoke. Cheon. Gu Yangchen. I spat out my name. After I told her my name, there, are you happy? I'll be leaving now. Please don't follow me around. I turned my back, and left while walking at a fast pace. Namgung by Ah repeated my name. Gu Yangchen. Tang Soyol, who had been watching from afar, was shocked as she saw Namgung by Ah's face. Namgung by Ah quietly whispered, Gu Gilead is fake. This one, real. She smiled while saying that. A smile so beautiful that it brightened the area around her. After the duel, I returned to my guest room. Luckily for me, YCOL didn't seem to get pissed about me being gone for a while. I heard that she had spent the time just having fun with the servants, which made me want to fool around with her, eventually resulting in me bonking her head. It was soon nighttime. I was now eating dumplings next to YCOL who was eating yagua. I messed up. I shouldn't have taken things that far, I thought to myself. To be more precise, I shouldn't have gone to the meal in the first place. I didn't regret beating the shit out of that Namgung fucker. I could have just pulled his right arm out completely, making him a lefty, but, graciously, I only broke his left arm. I honestly felt proud of myself for my self-control. It was close. Namgung Changjin was a talented swordsman. Compared to his shitty attitude, his body form truly showed that he was from a royal clan. The only problem there was that he was a swordsman from the Namgung clan. I had watched the Namgung clan's sword art countless times. Because I followed around the crazy bitch who wanted to get rid of the weakness that it possessed. I was forced to get used to the clan's sword art. One of the reasons why I told Namgung by my name after her begging me for a while was because of the guilt I felt. Though the biggest reason was my fear that she would actually follow me around forever. But, I felt like I now had a good excuse. That I didn't think I could attend the military exhibition after the trouble I'd caused. Even if the people of Tang tried to make me stay, what could they do about my choosing to leave in guilt? The main issue there was what would happen when I returned to my clan. I guess I'd get scolded for a bit. The general could be pretty scary when he got angry. YCOL handed me something while I was thinking. It was a yagua. Young master. You want a yagua? You are offering me food. What in the world? When I made a shocked expression, YCOL frowned in response. I laughed at her reaction. Ah, how funny. So, what made you want to give me this? Young master's face looked really conflicted, really. YCOL offered me a yagua while shaking her hand. I accepted without a thought of declining. The face YCOL made when she thought, wait, he really accepted, was funny. I put the yagua in my mouth, inviting her to watch, and felt my mood rising at YCOL's despair-filled reaction. It felt like I was getting better just by watching how funny it was. Yeah, what's the point of a dumbass like me thinking about anything? Yeah, yagua is gone in one bite. I turned my back to YCOL who was in despair, told her to go to sleep, and went into my room. Let's not think too much about it. Let's first focus on the golden nature. Starting tomorrow, I was seriously going to be busy. Chapter 34. Looking for the hint, 2, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Looking for the hint, 2. The golden nature. Centuries ago, they were a well-known clan, their descendants were well versed in martial arts, and the clan itself had been host to one of the best markets in the world. When the first gate of demons appeared in the world, the Iron Fist, Yun Il Cheon, the lord of the golden nature at the time, played a big part in stopping the monsters. During that era, the clan had complete control over the world's economy, and all of the Zenith in the world were descended from the clan. Although it seemed like they would continue to hold their top position in the world, their story would end soon after. Blood disaster. The golden nature fell in an instant because of a sudden blood disaster. The blood cult's leader at the time, the Blood King, caused a disaster that engulfed the world, making it into a bloody mess for a period of time. Of course, in the end, the Blood King was defeated and the blood disaster was stopped, but in the process, countless clans were destroyed and erased from existence. The golden nature was one of them. The clan that was known to be the clan of Zeniths was erased without a single trace to be found. No one knew what exactly the Blood King did or what had happened for them to be erased in such a humiliating fashion. Not much history was written about this, and people refrained from trying to dig deep into it. How would knowing about a disaster that happened centuries ago help in any way? Either way, the main point here was that the golden nature had actually managed to leave a trace behind before they were destroyed. A secret vault. The Tang clan had found it in my previous life. Many expected that the secret vault held a significant value, considering it came from the best clan known during that period of time. There were fights and arguments about who would get possession of the vault, and in the end, it ended up in the hands of the Gaichin clan. They didn't say much about what the secret vault held inside, but the lord of the clan, who was at the level of peak at the time, suddenly surged into fusion rank. But what if there was truly nothing in the vault? Then there is nothing in it, I guess. I didn't expect that the vault held nothing, but it was still risky for me to do nothing about it. I couldn't even be sure if I could find the vault in the first place, and I only had 3 days to work with. I had somehow, thankfully, avoided wasting time at the military exhibition, but that still didn't mean that I had plenty of time to work with. God damn, this place is huge. The day before, I made an excuse, saying that I could not dare show up to the event, considering I had caused a big mess. And I ran away from the place after only leaving a letter for my escorts at midnight. I told them I would return in approximately 3 to 4 days, so they should leave the Tang clan and go to the town we had previously gone to. Of course, Mian would be devastated after seeing the letter, but I had no choice. We decided that we'd both get into trouble after. Well, to be precise, I decided that on my own. After walking and running for 2 hours, I arrived at the spot where the Golden Nature was previously located, which was in the middle of a mountain. The location was between the Tang clan and the Gaichin clan, so it was understandable why they would get into conflicts with one another. It was a small mountain, but to look for the secret vault by myself, it was too big. Sigh. I feel like a few days won't be enough. Right. It's so huge. I know, isn't it crazy? How am I supposed to search this area all alone? I agree. I'm also hungry. Yes. Maybe I should just go back and eat some dumpling. Ha. I turned to the voice that I knew I shouldn't have been hearing, and in the direction that I looked, stood YCO.A. She was covered in leaves for some reason. YCO.A tilted her head in confusion as I looked dumbfoundedly at her. A leaf that was stuck to YCO.A's head fell to the ground following the tilt. You, yeah. Why are you here, ee? The mountain echoed with my voice. Asterisk 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 dumplings are delicious. I had always felt that way, even in my previous life. It was cheap but filled with meat on the inside, while the skin of the dumpling was nice and soft. There was a small version of the dumpling, but I'd always preferred the larger version. It was delicious, whether hot or cold. It's delicious when mixed with soup, or when it's fried. Oh, what a perfect food it is. I never once thought in my life that dumplings could be bad. Young master, aren't you going to eat? Except now. How did you follow me here? After all the hard work of climbing the mountain, I only ended up in the nearest town. It was because I felt obligated to feed her because she was saying she was hungry. My head ached more the more I watched her eat, as well as the dishes stacking. How many bowls of noodles is this? I'm only on my 3rd dumpling right now, but she's on 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's just stop. I stopped counting because I was afraid of the number. When did you start following me? YCO.A spoke while devouring the food. Back then, Nam. I saw you, Nam. Never mind, you can talk after you finish. It looked like her cheeks were going to pop. How is she holding all that in her mouth? YCO.A finally gulped down all the food. I saw the young master sneak out in the morning. How? I avoided the sight of the escorts that were active during the morning, and I repeated the process of walking and running for many hours. I even used my Kai in the way here from time to time. Let's put aside the fact that I somehow failed to notice her following me. How the hell did she follow me? Even though I am panting on the way here because of my poor stamina. Young master, you looked like you were going to die on the way, but I thought it was funny so I kept watching. Yeah, thanks. Even though I had a pathetic amount of chi and my body wasn't trained yet, I was still a martial artist who possessed chi. It was impossible for an average person like the current YCO.A to follow me all the way here. But then how? I'd seen YCO.A become tired after doing a lot of housework, and I'd seen YCO.A carry heavy things that even men would struggle with. Wait, maybe that's abnormal in the first place. Has the future Zenith been built differently since her birth? But even so, this is too strange. You really ran here. YCO.A looked back upon hearing my question. I followed her gaze, but there was nothing but empty chairs and a table. I just followed you. YCO.A's response made me massage my temple. I could feel my headache worsening. How would I send her back? There was no guarantee that she knew the way back, and even if she arrived back in the Tang clan, there was no guarantee that our crew would still be there. But I couldn't afford to bring her back with my own hands. It was also dangerous to send her back alone because of her beauty. I feared that something might happen. Sichuan wasn't really a peaceful place, after all. Not that I have any right to judge, since I ran away. But why would you follow me here? It's dangerous. Why Seol Dara flinched at my yelling. I'm sorry. Young master, you looked like you were going far away. So I followed you here because I was nervous. In all honesty, I was also being pathetic here. Even with my pathetic amount of chi, I should have noticed why Seol Dara following me. I deserved to get stabbed in the back. Did I let my guard down too much since the world was currently at peace? I thought I had been on guard since I was in Sichuan, but apparently it wasn't enough. Ha! What can I do? I don't have a lot of time. Can I look for the vault with her? I feel like that would be going too far. I could barely take care of myself, so could I really bring Seol.A with me? Maybe I should just go back to the Tang clan after all. Maybe it will be better if I just go back and tell Muyan, I coincidentally found some info about the secret vault. Though I don't think he'd believe me. Fuck, what should I do? Seol.A asked a question while I was engrossed in my thoughts. Young master, why are you here anyways? I'm here to find something. A yummy dumpling. What makes you say dumplings all of a sudden? But the young master always eats dumplings. No. Wait, you're right. I had indeed only been eating dumplings for the past few days. But dumplings are delicious, I heaved a deep sigh. Can I really find the vault in my current situation? I had heard vague information about the secret vault's location, but it probably wasn't accurate information. A white maple tree in the middle of summer. What kind of nonsense is that? Underneath the white maple tree, the entrance to the secret vault was found. Those were the words of the Tang clan at the time. It was honestly nonsensical. It had been summer when the Tang clan discovered the vault. Maple trees were already hard enough to grow in the summer, but on top of that, this one was white. Were they not being truthful when giving their information? Or was it edited? I would have to assume that it was the latter. The story was about history's greatest clan once upon a time, after all, so it was possible for it to be edited so it sounded like a fantasy. I was the one in trouble for believing that story and coming here in the first place. Sigh, I'm such an idiot. I was tempted to just give up and go back. Seol.A spoke when I was starting to get tired of it all. White maple tree. Yeah, white maple tree. I came here to find that. It would sound weird to Seol.A as well. Come to think of it, it was just weird that no clans were able to find such a unique sounding tree. A maple tree in the summer. Weird, right? Yeah, it was super pretty when I saw it earlier. Yeah, I agree, huh? What did Seol.A say just now? What did you say just now? Seol.A looked at me, visibly confused, after I asked her with my own dumbfounded face. What's wrong, young master? You said you saw it. The white maple tree. Yes. Where did you see it? Seol.A tilted her head. We were looking at it earlier together. Looking at what? The tree. Me. With you. Yes. Since when? I went numb, unable to find out why I hadn't noticed it before. Seol.A was also getting frustrated with me, so she tried to take one of my dumplings, which I slapped her hands away for. Ow. You said we saw it together, the tree. I asked Seol.A who was glowering at me for slapping her hand. Yes, yes. Do you remember where? I asked Seol.A, carefully pushing a dish of dumplings towards her. ********. chirp chirp sunset had passed, and it was now nighttime. How did it become nighttime when we only climbed the mountain a few times? The time passes by unnecessarily fast. We were climbing up the mountain, and so far we hadn't found anything. No matter how great a martial artist you become, could one really do nothing about time? Of course, it was a bit greedy of me to say that, considering the fact that I'd literally gone back in time. Phew. I looked at YCOL.A, who was panting powerfully while following me. Her clothes were covered in dust and leaves since we'd gone through numerous trees and rocks. But even then, YCOL.A still had a bright smile on her face. What are you so happy about? It's always fun to go with you, young master. Maybe I shouldn't have asked. My heart kept trying to act up, so I turned away from her. YCOL.A was following me well even though the mountains were rough for the average girl her age. Her stamina is over the top. I guess the bones of the future Zenith are also different. A bit more, and we'll arrive at the spot where we previously went. The middle point of the mountain we went to during the day. YCOL.A said that she had seen the white maple tree here. Even though all I saw was a cliff with the average trees and rocks. What did YCOL.A see here? As long as it's worth it, I didn't mind going through danger during the night. Thankfully, there doesn't seem to be any demons around here. It was almost too strange how I felt no presence of demons here. I didn't even feel any animals around here. I only heard the sound of bugs chirping. Not long after, we arrived at the spot where we had previously been. Of course, I saw nothing special here. Where are you saying it's at? YCOL.A responded with confusion to my question. It's right there. I looked in the direction she was pointing, but there was nothing. There's only a cliff there. What are you talking about? I only see a cliff. I felt like I shouldn't go there. I tried to go there to see it closer, but for some reason, my feet didn't move. That's weird. It's really there. YCOL.A, who didn't seem to feel anything weird about the place, walked towards the cliff without any effort. Wait. I told you it's dangerous. Although I screamed, my feet were still not moving. Why am I acting like this? YCOL.A kept pointing at the empty air. She was at a dangerous spot where if she moved even a slight step, she would fall. Fuck. Please, move. I clenched my teeth and used all of my chi. Heat emanated from my body as I wrapped myself in fire chi. I forced the chi to flow into the legs that had been refusing to move and felt myself starting to regain control. The instant I realized this, I ignored my hesitation and ran towards YCOL.A to hug her. Kia. YCOL.A was startled, which made her scream, but I didn't care. Are you crazy? If you fall here, you're going to die. I stopped my words when I was in the middle of scolding her. Something was strange. Crack. The empty air started to crack. Little by little, the crack started to form something. Something like a gate of demons. I took out the demonic charm I had brought just in case. The charm didn't show any signs of a gate of demons being around. But back then, it worked properly. So why? The crack that formed in the air resembled the appearance of the gate of demons. I got goosebumps at the idea of it actually being a gate of demons. Because if it was truly a gate, then it was far too late for us to run away. I should have just sent her back. This was an emergency. Even if we were lucky and a green gate of demons appeared, I couldn't protect both myself and YCOL.A with my current state of power. Maybe I should just send YCOL.A away and hold them off by myself. Since I had to act in a hurry, I had to act and not just think. It's dangerous here, so quick. See. Young master. Ha. YCOL.A was still smiling, even in our current situation. I told you I wasn't lying. See. What are you saying? I told you it's dangerous. YCOL. Didn't seem to notice my desperation and only pointed in a direction with her finger. The crack in the air at the end of the cliff widened more and more. What the heck is that? The crack, which now looked like a spider's web, let out a shining light. I hugged YCOL. Protecting her just in case it was dangerous. Aukf. YCOL. Made a suffocating sound. After about 30 seconds, it seemed like the light had faded out, so I slowly opened my eyes. What the hell? I was at a loss for words at the sight. The area where the cliff was supposed to be was now flat land. And in the middle of it stood the giant white maple tree that the Tang clan had mentioned. Chapter 35. Looking for the hint, 3, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Looking for the hint, 3. I dropped to my knees, shocked, and marveled at the tree that had suddenly appeared before me. What in the world? It was already amazing how the cliff had disappeared and a tree had taken its place, but the fact that said tree was the infamous white maple tree was insane. Every single part of the tree was white, even its leaves. It looked like it was shining. No, the leaves that fell from the tree were actually shining. I carefully reached out to pick one up, and the moment I touched it, it crumbled. What the hell is going on? Is it spatial magic? There was no history of the Zhuge clan, a clan that had been famous for their spatial magic, using their magic before they vanished from existence during the blood disaster. But then, how do I explain this? Young master. Look, it's so pretty. YCOL. Had picked up a bunch of fallen leaves from around the tree. But it crumbled when I picked it up. The leaves kept their shape in YCOL.'s hands, as if they were discriminating against me. I carefully took one of the leaves that was in YCOL.'s hands. Crumble. Like before, it crumbled again. What the hell, is it really discriminating against me? It felt sort of shitty. I glanced around. Looking at it now, the flatland that used to be the cliff looked much more natural now. So this is how it really looks. Anyway, I think I've found the secret vault. It was the same as what the Tang clan had described, and the tree was really white. It was almost too white. The leaves looked like snow as they fell from the tree. To think that this tree had been hidden for hundreds of years, how was that even possible? From what I knew, locational magic didn't last that long, and it needed to be consistently checked on. So, does that mean someone was managing this place? I felt like that wasn't the case though. Young master. There's something here. When did you even go all the way there? I was still on my knees in shock, but YCOL.A was already wandering around, touching the tree. I went towards YCOL.A, who was standing close to the tree, and behind it was a staircase that led downwards. Shouldn't something like a secret vault be kept more secret? Maybe they didn't worry about it too much since the spatial magic was already keeping it hidden. Considering the amount of fear one would normally feel when walking to the edge of a cliff. But then what about YCOL.A? She saw the tree, and easily broke through the magic. It's good for me, but how do I explain this? After sighing on my own, I shook off the confusing thoughts. I had to first focus on the secret vault. It's dangerous, so you should wait here was what I was going to say, but YCOL.A had already disappeared. I heard her voice from down the stairs. Young master. Hurry up. Right. Does she ever think before doing something? Thanks to her actions, this endless headache won't be going away anytime soon. I followed YCOL.A down the stairs. The staircase that led downward was unexpectedly narrow, and I could see no end in sight. I thought that maybe I should go back to town to grab some sort of light so that I could light the place up, but, luckily enough, the white leaves that YCOL.A was holding in her hands acted as a suitable makeshift torch. The shining leaves were rather good at lighting the place, and thanks to that, we were able to go down safely. The problem now was, how deep did they make this? How many steps had it been? It felt like we'd been going down forever, but the stairs still continued downward. Something strange. Is it possible for it to be this deep? Is this also locational magic? I felt like it was a possibility. Considering that the magic hid this huge land and the tree, while also changing its appearance to make it look like a cliff. I felt like it wasn't impossible. I dove straight into action without a proper plan. I was too impatient, since I knew that this place had a secret vault inside. They say that greed blinds humans. At the moment, I was the perfect example of that. I spoke to YCOL. I think we need to first go back up, young master. There's a different way here. What? Where? In front of YCOL. There was only one way down, the stairs that seemed endless. What are you talking about? There's only one way down. Following my words, YCOL. Started touching the wall that was next to her. The leaves fell from her hands, but YCOL. Didn't seem to care. I then spoke to her. There are only walls. What are you, creek? Ha! The wall that YCOL. Was touching made a sudden sound and then exploded into dust, revealing a hidden path. YCOL. Looked at the hidden path and stood proudly. She had done a good thing, but I felt a bit spiteful. See? There is a path here. Yes. Why is there a path here? Seriously, why is it here? The hidden path was located at a spot where you would have had to go down the stairs for a long time, and since it was hard to notice, you would have had to bring in professionals to investigate the place in order to find it. But then it was just discovered. By YCOL. What in the world was going on? Was this just a part of her natural talent? One could say that she lived in a different world than mine as someone destined to reach the Zenith in the future, but, did something like that also contribute to things like this? I didn't know the answer. YCOL. Was starting to make her way into the hidden path, but I stopped her. It'll be dangerous for you to act recklessly from now on. I'll lead the way. I felt like I shouldn't have been the one saying that since, up until now, she had been the one leading the way down the stairs. But it really felt like it would be dangerous from this point on. Following my words, YCOL. Smiled in a weird manner. And, following that confusing smile, I asked her. What? Young master is worried about me. What about it? I don't know, but it feels nice. I felt embarrassed when she said that for some reason, so I bumped her head. Ow. You. Why did you hit me? No reason, I just felt like it. So cruel. When I entered the hidden path, the path was bright, unlike the staircase. I walked in, following the light, and stopped after a few steps. Come to think of it, it was the things that were stuck in the walls that produced the light. Are all of these moonlight marbles? The stones that were making the path bright. They were so valuable in this period of time that it would be hard to obtain them even if one had a lot of money. But all of these are on the walls right here. Fucking hell. I knew the golden nature had a lot of wealth, but isn't this too extravagant? I was in shock. How much would I make if I brought all of these with me? Should I take some on the way back? It felt morally wrong. No, wait, was there any need to feel guilty? I was the one who had found them in the first place. Yes, it's not like I lived as a demon because I'd never felt morally wrong in my previous life, so. Young master. It's nothing, let's keep going. I held off the thought and proceeded to continue down the path. I was on my guard, ready for any attacks, but I felt no presence that gave off a feeling of danger. We walked for a while. It wasn't as long as the time we'd spent walking down the stairs, but it was a fairly long time. Just as I began to think that this path was actually a trap, we reached its end. At the end of the path was a giant door that seemed to be at least twice as big as my body. I went closer to the door and slowly grabbed at the knob. I was worried that something would happen when I touched it, but thankfully nothing happened. I pulled on it with some strength. Creak. I expected that the door would be quite heavy, considering its size, but it opened rather easily. When I went in, there was only darkness. It seemed like no moonlight marbles were installed in this room. It's a bit too dark, as I struggled to see how big the room was, or if this room led to a different path. Something flew past me. A white light. It was one of the white leaves that YCOL.A had been holding. Was it being blown by the wind? But I felt no wind here, child. I concentrated my chi upon hearing a sudden voice. It sounded like it was right in front of me. The voice was coming from the darkness. How did you end up in a place like this, child? The leaf that was floating in the air came to a stop. Then it crumbled, just like when I touched it before. You are not a child of the golden nature, so then, how did you find this place? I gradually became able to see. A light began to emerge from the darkness in front of me. It was the same white light that the leaf gave out. I stood in front of YCOL.A, protecting her while concentrating my fire chi. I feel like this is dangerous. Do we just run away? No matter how much chi I used, I couldn't figure out what was in front of me. Something was definitely there, but it was faint, as if it were covered in a deep fog. You are holding something strange within you. Following the voice, a bright light engulfed the room in an instant. It was too bright, so I clenched my eyes and protected YCOL.A. When I opened my eyes after the light had faded away, I gasped at what had just happened. The room that was filled with darkness was now brightly lit. But the problem was the cause of that light. The room was huge, with a ceiling that was at least 30 meters tall, and in the middle of the room was a snake that didn't fit. A giant snake that filled up the entire room. Chapter 36. Looking for the hint. 4. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Looking for the hint. 4. A massive snake that was releasing a bright white light was looking down at us. It's a huge snake. I clenched my teeth upon hearing YCOL.A's words. We were in a very bad situation. A demon. There was no way that a snake so large in size wasn't a demon. And considering how it had spoken to us, is it a demon with some sort of intellect? I had never heard of or seen such a thing. Let alone a demon so massive in size. What do? I probably wouldn't be able to even scratch it with my current capabilities. But I had to at least make sure that YCOL.A safely got out of this place. How can I distract it? At that point, the snake spoke, as if it had just read my mind. Calm down, child. I am not very hungry right now. It isn't hostile. Upon hearing its words, I wiped my sweat and asked. Can you understand me? We are talking to each other, after all. How can a demon speak the language of humans? A demon. How amusing. The snake moved its tongue. Even its tongue looked much bigger than me. We are at a time where entities such as myself are called demons, HM. It was a bitter voice. It didn't seem hostile, but I couldn't trust a demon, so I still covered myself with chi. The snake opened its eyes to reveal a golden gaze and asked me a question. I'm curious, child. How did a child like you, who isn't from the nature, manage to come all the way here? Nature. Is it referring to the golden nature? The golden nature disappeared centuries ago. Following my words, the snake's eyes widened. Then it slowly closed its eyes. The giant snake curled up its body. It had only moved slightly, but the entire room immediately started shaking. The snake was that large. I see. It seems it was inevitable after all. The huge head of the snake slowly came down to the ground. But still, I am curious. Even if my power has been degrading, how did you manage to come all the way here? When it said power, does that mean the spatial magic was set up by this demon? A demon that possessed such inconceivable power. How scary is that? How should I answer the demon's question? The truth is, I only ended up here because YCOL.A led me all the way, so I didn't have much to say. I happened to coincidentally find it. What? The snake that had been about to respond to my absurd answer suddenly stopped itself and moved its gaze to a different place. The snake was now looking at YCOL.A. Its golden eyes shined slightly as it looked at YCOL.A. Because of its size, I couldn't help but feel fear at the massive head staring so intently at us. YCOL.A seemed to share my fears as she hurriedly moved behind my back. The snake, after observing her for a few seconds, backed off a bit to give us some space. I see. So that's what happened. Huh. What did he understand? Child, what was your goal for coming here? The snake suddenly asked. I was stunned for a bit by the snake's question. If this snake had some sort of relationship with the golden nature, would it just let us steal the secret vault and let us get away? I ended up here by coincidence, sir. I unconsciously spoke in a formal tone. The snake swirled its tongue at my answer. I didn't know if I was hallucinating from fear, but it looked to me like the snake was smiling. The snake then spoke. Unfortunately, the thing you are looking for no longer belongs here. Fuck, he noticed that I came here for the secret vault. Following that realization, sweat instantly soaked my back. The snake continued its words. Since my days are about to come to an end, this place will also disappear with it. About to end. Now I felt like I knew how the Tang clan was able to find this place in the first place. If the snake was being truthful, then the Tang clan had probably found this place after the spatial magic had faded away. Now it makes sense why no one was able to find a unique tree such as this one for so long. But is it saying the truth about nothing being here? If it was, then what did the Lord of the Gaichin clan gain from this place? Child. Yes, sir. I answered nervously to the snake's call. My pride was hurt because I was speaking to a snake in such a formal tone, but now was not the time to bother about such trivialities. What do you think fate is? What kind of shitty question is that? Sir. To such an absurd question, I subconsciously responded with my normal way of talking. You idiot, why would you do that in a situation like this? Ha 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 ha. The snake laughed at my response, the entirety of the room shaking as it laughed. You are correct. That was indeed an absurd question from me. Thankfully, the snake didn't seem angry. I wanted to complain about the fact that the snake was the only one asking the questions, but I held myself back. I couldn't afford to do so in my current situation. The snake loosened its curled-up body slowly. Why stall it for this long when it is destined to disappear one day? It didn't seem to be talking to me. Who was it talking to? Then, the snake suddenly started shining brightly. It wasn't emanating the white light it had before, but a golden light just like its eyes. As I thought about taking this chance to run away with YCOL.A, something shot out from the snake's opened mouth. It was a golden marble. I picked up the marble that had come to a stop at my feet. Then the snake spoke. Take it. What is this? It's your reward for dealing with a monster such as me. As it was bound to end up in someone's hands sooner or later, it is probably better for you to have it. Such is fate. Even though the marble had come out of the snake's body, it wasn't covered in any sort of mucus. If I had to make a comparison, it looked sort of like a demonic stone, but it didn't have any ominous feeling around it, much unlike demonic stones. Instead, it felt luxurious and bright. It seemed holy. Considering you have that inside your body, you will be able to absorb it easier than others would. That. What does it mean by that? Before I could process any other thoughts, hot chi suddenly and furiously surged into my body. Ugh. Following the sudden influx of pain, I dropped to my knees. Once again, just like last time, my demonic absorption ability activated without my will. I had let my guard down, it seemed that it was actually a demonic stone. But, weirdly enough, I couldn't feel any demonic chi seeping into my body. The problem instead seemed to be the fact that the chi that was streaming into my body was too much for me to handle. As I struggled with the pain, I felt the hands of YCOL.R rub against my back. Suddenly, the furious chi that had been streaming into my body calmed down. However, just as I sought to heave a sigh of relief, the injected chi met my own fire chi, then began to combine with it, and went on a rampage throughout my body. Ugh! The pain instantly resurfaced, worse than it had earlier been. I felt like I was going to die. Was the snake actually trying to kill me? If so, why go through such a roundabout method? Surely gulping me down in one bite would have been much more efficient. Slowly, then rapidly. Boom! The only sound in my ears should have been my groaning, but for some reason, I heard an explosion in my head. Was I hallucinating because of the pain? Eventually, the two chis that had been rampaging like crazy formed into one line. After this merged line of chi reached the center of my body, it suddenly spread throughout my whole body, disregarding any semblance of control I tried to establish. It was as if it had suddenly exploded. As the pain got to a point where I could no longer handle it, I blacked out. After Gu Yangchen had fainted, the room was left with only two conscious individuals, the snake, and YCOL.A. The snake laughed after seeing what had happened. I guess it was too much for him to handle. The power of a snake that was about to become a dragon. Having absorbed such power, Gu Yangchen now possessed a chi that was stronger than most others. YCOL.A put Gu Yangchen's head on her knees and slowly rubbed his back. The snake then asked her, "Are you satisfied with this?" YCOL.A lifted her head upon hearing the snake's question. Unlike the usual black eyes that YCOL.A usually had, her eyes were now golden. YCOL.A then opened her mouth and said, "It's not up to me to be satisfied." Her tone was vastly different from how she usually sounded, the naivete usually present nowhere to be found. The snake responded, sadness evident in its tone. "You came all the way here after changing so many things. Is this what you wanted? Why? Can you not comprehend it? It is not that. I comprehend it so much that I feel sorry for you." The snake slowly lowered its body to the ground. Its scales were slowly losing their light. YCOL.A, still rubbing Gu Yangchen's back, asked, "Why did you hand over the jewel you'd been protecting for so long to a person you'd only met for the first time?" I felt whimsical. There is nothing worse than waiting for someone who will never come, so I decided to let go. The snake was reminded of a golden-haired man with a bright smile. Someone it would never see again. Fate is such a cruel mistress. The scales were now falling to the ground. As soon as the scales touched the ground, they crumbled and disappeared. Just like the leaves of the white maple tree. Not long after, the massive snake disappeared, without leaving a single trace. Those were the last moments of the snake who had provided the jewel. YCOL.A carefully patted Gu Yangchen's head. "Even in that situation, you were thinking of protecting me. What kind of person are you?" Drip. Drip. Tears were slowly falling onto Gu Yangchen's face. "You could have just run away." Gu Yangchen, even while shaking, had continued to stand in front of her. "I can't understand. Why do all that for me? For a person like me who only holds grudges and contempt and doesn't know anything else." I was reminded of the person who never once opened her mouth for anyone else but herself. I had despised her. I hated her and wanted nothing more than to kill her. That person was none other than me. "Give it back now." I heard a voice. YCOL.A wiped the flowing tears with her hands. "Sorry, but I'll be borrowing it for a bit longer. Now was not the time. It was still dangerous. Just a little more." YCOL.A carefully placed Gu Yangchen's head on the ground and slowly got up. She wanted to pat his head a bit more, but she knew her place. And she felt that it was a selfish act since she was ignoring her guilt. Dara slowly stretched her body. It was still the body of a young, fragile girl, but the vessel that was holding her was so big that she had no problem controlling the body. After she was done stretching, Dara spoke while looking at the door they had come from. "Come out now." The voice of the little girl was now sharp and cold, akin to an awl. The man, shocked at her words, revealed himself. "How? Since when did you notice that I was here? You thought you'd be able to hide yourself when you lack so much." The man was none other than Machiel, Namgung Chanjin's escort. Ever since the beginning, ever since Gu Yangchen left the Tang clan, Dara had known that she and Gu Yangchen were being followed. Even if Gu Yangchen had some experience from his past, there was no way that he would have been able to notice a martial artist that reached the peak realm. "I was going to finish it quietly." Machiel let out a sigh. He already had his sword drawn. "You are a child with good senses. I didn't want to deal with you, so I was only going to get rid of Gu Yangchen, but now everything is messed up." "Is this an order from Namgung?" Machiel's eyes frowned at Dara's question. "How dare you? You have no right to utter such a name through your mouth." Dara remained expressionless in the face of Machiel's rage. And then quietly pulled out a dagger. Machiel scoffed at her upon seeing the dagger. "What are you going to do with that?" Dara didn't respond. Machiel then thought to himself as he gazed at Dara. Beautiful. She was fascinatingly beautiful. She still seemed a bit young, so it would be better to bring her back to the clan and only get rid of the Gu clan's son. Along with the secret vault, and Gu Yangchen's head. This had been a successful trip. After Machiel finished his thoughts, he asked Dara. "If you don't resist, I won't lay a finger on you. How about it? She will most likely get hurt if she tries to fight me while also trying to protect her master. And that definitely won't make my master happy." Dara, once again, didn't respond. She simply looked down at the dagger. Machiel let out a disappointed sigh. "Right, if you so insist, then," thud. Machiel let out a dumb sound. Something had fallen near him. Then he felt something strange, an unnatural lack of balance. Machiel, with a shaky hand, tried to touch his left shoulder. Cold sweat flowed down his cheek. It wasn't there. The entirety of the left arm that should have been there, wasn't. When he looked down at the ground, he saw that the thing that fell was none other than his own arm. "When did you?" Machiel hadn't even seen Dara swing. "Shut up." Dara's voice dug into his ears. And Machiel finally realized that something was wrong, horribly wrong. Dara took her first step forward, and Machiel's breathing instantly roughened. As the distance between them shrank, Machiel found that it was getting increasingly harder to breathe. An overwhelming pressure was pressing down on him. "Don't open your mouth anymore, I don't want him to wake up when he is sleeping so soundly." As she took a step forward, Dara's hair slowly turned golden. Chapter 37. Looking for the hint, 5, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Looking for the hint, 5. Before Machiel followed Gu Yangchen to the secret vault. Fuck. Fuck. Namgung Chanjin, the lightning dragon, was currently screaming in rage, his hair disheveled, and one of his arms wrapped up in a bandage. Every time Namgung Chanjin screamed, items close to him would break, and his servants would subsequently flinch in fear. He had been raging ever since the moment he woke up. That piece of shit. He definitely used some sort of magic. That Gu Qianyub or Gu Jialiub motherfucker, whatever his name was. There was no other way to explain his current situation. Only the main family members had been invited to the Tang's military exhibition. If main family members weren't available, then they didn't need to come at all. There was no way proxies could be sent in place of direct descendants. Those were the rules set by the Tang clan. The Gu clan was the clan of the Tiger Warrior and the Sword Phoenix. Namgung Chanjin had heard that the Gu clan had a son, so the Gu fucker had to be him. Crack. Namgung Chanjin gritted his teeth. What kind of magic did he use? At first, I just didn't like him. I didn't like how he traveled alongside my sister, and I didn't like how he got attention from her either. And I hated how that kid had dared to look down at me. A kid that came from the same bloodline as the Tiger Warrior and the Sword Phoenix had nothing to show for it aside from a pathetic amount of chi. That was why he just wanted to play with him a little. To make him realize where he stood. Did I let my guard down? I'd thought that I wouldn't have to be serious against a kid like him. That was why I let my guard down. But that still didn't mean that I could lose. He couldn't believe he ended up like this. He couldn't hold in my anger. Namgung Chanjin assured himself, it's definitely some sort of magic. What kind of magic? And how did he use it? None of that mattered to him. Even if it wasn't magic, I will make it look like it was magic. His crotch, which was still in pain, only worsened Namgung Chanjin's anger. Machiel. Yes, young master. Machiel knew what he had to do the instant Namgung Chanjin called him. With the way he'd been called, he already knew what he would task him with. It was an order that he had gotten hundreds of times already, so it wouldn't be any different now. Namgung Chanjin asked. What is your plan? A short but meaningful question. And one Machiel couldn't easily answer. They weren't in a good situation. The escorts from the Gu clan were quite skillful. And one of them looked especially skilled. Machiel assumed that he was the direct escort. He seemed like someone who wouldn't fall short even when compared to Namgung Chanjin, the lightning dragon himself. Machiel wondered how a martial artist of his caliber hadn't spread his name to the world yet. Then again, the Gu clan had always been a secretive one. If I had to compare him to someone like me who has already reached the peak level, I would probably lose 20 times out of 100 if we fought. And to get rid of Gu Yangchen after going through all those guards. It was pretty much an impossible mission. Machiel. Namgung Chanjin didn't know or care about any of that, however, and was pressuring Machiel to answer. Machiel knew his master well. He was one who would usually keep his mature facade outside, but if things didn't go his way, he would reveal his spoilt, childish appearance. Just like right now. Machiel felt a strange feeling of suffocation as his master's mood worsened. It was because of the brace around his chest, one that every martial artist got once they signed up to work for the Namgung clan. It was the price they had to pay in order to obtain martial skills under the name of Namgung. It was how they showed their loyalty. And it was one of the reasons why Machiel was working as the direct escort of Namgung Chanjin even though he was at the level of a peak martial artist. As the feeling of tightening and the pain it brought gradually worsened, Machiel was forced to answer. I will look for him. The tightening stopped instantly. Namgung Chanjin smiled ominously at Machiel's response. Then he tapped Machiel's shoulder. I've always believed in you, and I believe that you will once again bring me good news. Yes, my lord. This isn't good. Machiel thought to himself as he set out to accomplish his master's goal. He had answered that he would do it, but was it even possible? While Machiel nervously wondered, he was given a chance. The target he had been secretly inspecting suddenly left the Tang clan by himself. Before Machiel became an escort, he had been a martial artist experienced in the ways of the assassin, so he was quite confident in his abilities. All he had to do was get rid of one young kid. But why is he traveling all by himself at this time? That was Machiel's biggest question. Perhaps this is a trap. But then who or what was this trap for? The only presence Machiel felt was that of the son of the Gu clan, Gu Yangchen himself. Why was the kid running even when he was so out of breath during such a late hour at night? Where was he headed? Machiel decided to watch for a little longer. It was an easy assassination that he could achieve at any time he wanted, so he decided to watch for a little longer and sate his curiosity. Then the place he'd arrived at after 2 hours of walking and running was a cliff that was some distance from the Tang clan. This is the end. There was nothing here, even though he had made so much effort to come all the way here. A place like this. It was a good place for kidnapping. Machiel knew his master well, and knew that he would prefer that to straight up illing him. Since he is all alone, I guess I will. Why are you here, ee? Just as Machiel prepared to make his move, he stopped at the boys yelling. In front of the boy stood some girl. Since when? He had been on guard throughout the journey here and had never felt a presence asides that of the boy. Another pursuer. But I still should have noticed. Especially when it was such a seemingly average girl regardless of her presence. However, there was still a chance to easily get rid of him. After all, even though he had the skills to beat my master, the son of Gu is at most a first-rate martial artist. And adding that servant-looking girl wouldn't have meant anything. But even then, for some reason, Machiel found that he couldn't initiate his plan. It was strange. His instincts were preventing him from doing anything. The two eventually made their way down to a restaurant. Machiel overheard their conversation while they were enjoying their meal. It seemed like the Gu boy was looking for a white maple tree. A white maple tree in the middle of summer. What could that possibly mean? Then suddenly, the girl looked behind her while she was eating. Machiel flinched because of that. Was it just my imagination? It was a very slight instance, but Machiel felt like the girl had glanced at him. It has to be my imagination. Just like he'd done with Gu Yangchen, Machiel observed the girl's body. She was an average girl with no chi. It was just a coincidence. That was what Machiel had thought, so he ignored the strange feeling that had given him goosebumps. The girl told the Gu boy that she had seen the tree he was looking for. He then asked, "Do you remember where?" It seemed like they had found what it was that they were looking for. After that, Machiel couldn't believe his eyes. The tree they discovered after climbing the mountain at night, the staircase that led down, and the moonlight marbles installed on the wall. And, of course, the mysterious secret vault. Machiel couldn't understand what exactly was going on. It had all happened too suddenly for him to process. He didn't know why the Gu boy knew all about this, but in the end, I must thank him for delivering all of this to me. Everything would go into his master's hands, but at least Machiel would get a good pay thanks to this. However, nothing that happened after that made sense. Huff, huff, Machiel used his chi to stop the blood from escaping him after his shoulder was cleanly cut off. Well, he attempted to. The bleeding isn't stopping. He couldn't control his blood even with his peak-level chi. The blood continued to escape his body as if there was a hole that he couldn't block. When? And how? Machiel couldn't understand how she had been able to strike such a blow with such a small dagger. He hadn't even gotten a glimpse of how the girl had swung her dagger. This is dangerous, I need to run. You're going somewhere. The voice that stabbed into Machiel's heart made his eyes shake in fear. Then he slowly lifted his head. The shadow that was visible in front of him made it hard for Machiel to breathe. I gave you many chances, said the girl. Then Machiel's shoulder was heavily pressed down. The black hair was all but gone, replaced by resplendent golden hair. What, in the world? You didn't get the message the first time, so I even helped your instincts become more sensitive so that you would realize that you should back out. What is she? The overpowering presence that was easily pressuring down a martial artist at the peak level. How do I even describe this? Machiel didn't understand. He couldn't understand. The only thing that he could understand and be sure of, was that the aura the girl was releasing was not chi. But then, what is it? You should have just run away. Machiel struggled to breathe but managed to gasp out a question. Who are you? A person you don't need to know. If you knew the whole time that I was following you, why did you leave me alone? I never left you alone. I was just being kind. At that point, it all clicked. The strange feeling he had been getting throughout the time he had spent following them. It was all a result of this girl. How come a person like you? Machiel bit down on his lips. The ultimate enlightenment of a martial artist. Eternal youth. Perhaps the one standing in front of him had already reached that status. But then how come she was just acting as the direct servant of that boy? The girl spoke. I won't be answering any more questions. I don't really have that much time, you see. I would still like to pat him a bit more. The girl responded with a small voice. I was being generous with you because this is the first time that this body will kill someone. What are you talking about? Machiel had been certain after her first strike, deadly and without hesitation, that she had killed many people. But she was saying that she'd never killed anyone. That was impossible. The girl continued to speak, ignoring Machiel's thoughts. I at least wanted to let you decide, but it had to be this way. Sorry. A sudden apology, but Machiel felt like the apology wasn't directed at him. How can I get out of here alive? He racked his brains, but the girl's steps were faster. He had already erased the thought of fighting back. He had to run away. While the girl was speaking to herself, he collected all of the chi he had left in his body. The sudden usage of chi would ruin his body, but now was not the time to worry about that. I just have to run away. And then explain everything that had just happened. Machiel turned around and explosively sprinted away, planning to burn all of his chi to ensure that he made it to the Tang clan. But something was strange. His line of sight, which should have been focused on the exit, was now facing the floor, and no amount of effort allowed his gaze to rise. Instead, the view of the ground seemed to get bigger and bigger. What the? Those were Machiel's last thoughts. Thud. The head of a peak martial artist from the Namgung clan rolled across the earth. A single strike from YCO.A had killed him. Following Machiel's death, YCO.A, expressionless, sheathed her dagger and waved her hand, Machiel's body catching on fire the instant the wave was completed. Some time later, nothing remained of Machiel, not a single trace of him was left, it was as if he'd never existed. Please. Please give it back now. A voice reached YCO.A's ears, and a small smile appeared on her face after it. Sorry, can you watch for a little longer? But it's my body. Yes, it is yours, and it will be for the rest of your time. YCO.A then walked over to the still asleep Gu Yangchen. It seemed like nothing that had transpired had managed to pierce the veil of his deep slumber, and started to pat his head once again. I'll give it back for real now. I think I'm satisfied with this. Bitterness oozed from her words. That was what YCO.A felt every time. They say that nothing hurts more than regretting something that has happened after it's too late. They were right. YCO.A poked Gu Yangchen's cheek and smiled. Hey! And retracted her hand immediately after the unhappy voice. You're leaving now. Even though no visible trace of the snake remained, it seemed its spirit still hadn't completely dissipated. Yes, I need some sleep. I went a bit too far. How long would it be until she could resurface? It would take a very long time. You. Do you know what you are? YCO.A smiled upon hearing the snake's question. Yeah, a little. YCO.A knew a bit about herself, but she'd found out that little, too late. It'll be quite the arduous task. I know. I see. I wish you good luck in your future endeavors. Thanks, you should also sleep now. Following YCO.A's words, a small wind blew about the large hall. YCO.A then slowly laid down next to Gu Yangchen. After poking Gu Yangchen's frowning face, she closed her eyes as well. After a while, Gu Yangchen finally opened his eyes. Where am I? It was an unfamiliar ceiling. Chapter 38. Way back, 1, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Way back, 1. It's an unfamiliar ceiling. Oh, how original of me to say that. I couldn't believe that the day had come when I would say such a thing. My head hurts. My head was spinning and I felt sick inside. My abdomen especially ached a lot. I barely managed to sit up after struggling. Where am I? I swear I fainted in the secret vault room. The demonic absorption ability had activated without my consent and absorbed everything within the marble that the snake gave me. It seemed like what I'd absorbed was too much for me to handle, which caused me to faint. On thinking up to that point, I suddenly felt nervous, and mustered up my chi. For the fact that it knocked me unconscious, it was obvious that the chi that I'd absorbed was no small amount. It would be bad if my body had been permanently damaged because of it. Swoosh! I mustered up my chi, and the results left me baffled. What the? I was shocked by the amount of heat that I had just produced. It was much faster and blistering than what I was used to. I could have sworn that I used up the same amount of chi as always, but the chi that I had produced was much more than I expected. Realm. My destructive flame martial art that had been stuck in the second realm for the longest time, had surged into the third rank. No, and from what I felt, it had surged to settle at the peak of the third realm. The chi that I had absorbed from that marble had given me the amount of chi one would usually get after training constantly for 30 years. I didn't expect it to be this much. When I thought back to the chi I had just absorbed, it honestly didn't feel like it was that much. One thing that I did feel, however, was that it felt extremely pure. Were there still such chi as this that felt so subtle and powerful? When I considered the fact that even after absorbing so much chi, I still didn't feel any demonic chi within me, I felt like I had to reconsider my assumptions. Perhaps it wasn't a demonic stone at all. I had thought that there was a possibility that my fire chi had absorbed demonic chi once again, but, this time around, it felt different. The chi I now possessed was shockingly powerful. The only reason why I hadn't directly reached the fourth rank was due to the constraints of my current physical body. I felt like if I just trained my body properly, I would reach the fourth rank in no time. Thinking up to that point, I started considering the people I could face with my new power levels. That Namgung fucker might be a bit much, but someone like Gujiliub can be easily dealt with. To be honest, I felt like I could probably take on people at Gujiliub's power level or above without chi. But the lightning dragon was still a level above. Even if I was used to the Namgung clan's sword art, if it was a real battle involving chi, I probably still wouldn't stand a chance against him. But seriously. Where am I? I looked around after I finished assessing my body. There were shabby furnitures and I could smell some sort of medicine. Young master. Whoa. While I looked around in confusion, something popped and tackled me. It was YCOL.A. Young master, you're okay now. Get off of me first. What kind of person tackles a patient who's in pain while also asking if they are okay? I quickly disentangled YCOL.A from myself. I was thankful for the fact that she didn't seem hurt, however, considering how she still seemed full of strength. Then I asked her the next important question. Where's the snake? And what happened to the secret vault? The snake. YCOL.A looked at me, seemingly confused. Huh. What sort of reaction is she giving me right now? I asked YCOL.A again, a strange feeling creeping up my spine. The giant snake we saw in the secret vault. You don't remember? Yep. Then how much do you remember? No, up till what point do you remember? I decided to rephrase my question. YCOL. Rolled her eyes before responding. It was easy for me to notice because of her big eyes. Till I started following you. Ha. Then she forgot everything. Maybe the secret vault along with the snake was just all a hallucination. There's no way. That wouldn't explain the chi I now possessed, alongside my overall increase in the strength of my martial art. Then. Did the snake wipe YCO's memories? But, why? I couldn't understand. You really don't remember anything? Yeah. When I woke up, I was sleeping with the young master in the middle of a mountain. What the, creak? Someone stepped in after opening the nearby door. It was an old man. He had white hair and his back seemed to be noticeably deformed. Why is it so hot in here? The old man sounded irritated. The heat was probably a result of me testing my chi. The old man then spoke to us. So you woke up. Who might you be? You finally woke up after sleeping for 2 whole days. Ha! 2 days. I slept for 2 days, you said. Sleeping for that long meant that I had used up all the time I was given to look for the secret vault. Yes, you didn't seem injured, but you kept sleeping, so I thought you were dead. May I ask where I am right now? You still haven't noticed. I'm a doctor, so this is obviously a medic room. How the hell am I supposed to know that you're a doctor? He was wearing rather poor clothes and seemed to be a hunchback. I guess the evidence could be the fact that the room smelled like medicine. Do you feel fine now? The old man asked. Yes. I feel better now. The old man said that this was a medic room located at the bottom of the mountains, so how did I end up all the way here? YCOA said that when she woke up, we were in the middle of a mountain and not the secret vault. So does that mean that the old man found us and carried us all the way here? The old man quietly asked while preparing medicines. What made you so courageous that you decided to sleep at the edge of a cliff? A cliff, huh? I could have sworn that cliff turned into a flat land that held the white maple tree. So it turned back into the cliff. I couldn't piece my thoughts together, so I decided to first show my gratitude to the old man. Thank you, sir. I presume that you saved us. Saved you my ass, be thankful to the girl next to you. She has such a beautiful face, but has the strength of a big man. She carried you all the way down here. When I looked at YCOA at following the old man's words, she was standing up proudly. She carried me all the way here from the top of the mountains. Thanks, of course. I guess her bones truly were one of a kind, considering she had also followed me all the way from the Tang clan. I would always make fun of her being circular, but in truth, she was on the slender side. She only looked round because she always had something in her mouth. But how could she be so strong with those fragile-looking arms? The old man observed and touched my arm while I stared in confusion, and then spoke. Since you look fine, I would prefer you now leave. Since the room is small, I don't think I can keep you guys here any longer. Oh, right. Thank you, sir. Thanks to you, I was able to wake up safe and sound. Huh, a young kid speaking in such a respectful manner is something you don't see every day. Well, it wasn't easy to take in some random person into one's own room and let them sleep in it for 2 whole days, even if they looked young. YCOA was chewing some unknown thing in her mouth, and I had to assume that it came from the old man as well. What are you eating? Chion grandpa gave it to me as a snack. Chion grandpa. I guess YCOA and the old man introduced themselves to one another. The old man spoke after her. It's nothing, I just gave her some ginseng that I found wasn't so effective, since I didn't really have anything else, considering this is a medical room after all. Ginseng. There are ginsengs that aren't effective. That was already surprising, but the fact that YCOA was chewing that bitter stuff up like it was nothing was even more surprising. I thought she only liked sweet things, but I guess she liked everything. I apologize, it's fine, so just get out of here already. Your parents must be worried sick about you. Parents. Worry. I was reminded of my father. There was no way that would be worried about me. Funnily enough, it would probably be Nguyen who would be worried about me the most. I searched my pockets and spoke to the old man. I don't really have much, since I left in a hurry, huh? What kind of kid would have money? Don't worry about it, I just did it because I was just bored. After searching my pockets, I found some silver coins. Thankfully, I had at least brought this much. Clink dot clank. As I hurried to take them out, the coins fell to the floor, and the old man who looked at the coins turned speechless. 2 silver coins had fallen to the floor. I didn't bring much, so I don't have much to offer. The old man interrupted me and grabbed my hand. His expression had suddenly turned serious. What was he going to say? After a while of us staring at each other in silence, the old man spoke. My lord, if you want, you may stay for longer. Oh, how rude of me to not even offer tea to such precious guests. Please wait here, this old man is a professional when it comes to tea brewing. Thankfully, he seemed to be satisfied with the coins. I left the room after declining the tea that the old man almost forcefully offered. He had kept trying to give me things, so I quickly left. Fortunately, it was still early morning, a good time to set out. My body felt lighter because of the increase in chi. If I use my current chi to run to the town I left the letter in, will I be able to make it there right away? Maybe that's too much. It would probably be possible if I took breaks in between, but since I had to also care about YCOL.A who would be following me, I held myself back. Wait, no, maybe YCOL.A can also follow me. I had thought that since YCOL.A had been able to follow me back when I initially left the Tang clan, she would be able to keep up with my new pace. But then I recalled that she didn't possess any chi, so that it would probably be impossible. Now that I was reminded of her, I checked within her body again to see if she possessed any chi. The result was the same. She didn't have any sort of chi within her. But then how? Because she forgot everything, I didn't even know what had transpired after I had lost consciousness. I couldn't tell what exactly the snake was, or how the flat land had turned into a cliff once again, what that strange spatial magic was, or... I came to a stop after recalling one important piece of information. Hey. Yes. The marbles. I was shaking. All those moonlight marbles. I didn't even get to take a single one. After recalling the marbles, I felt like falling to my knees and pummel the ground. Wait, no, maybe all those didn't exist in the first place. Now that the secret vault has disappeared anyways, I was trying to think positively, but, what about the marble I got from the snake? Young master. I'm fine, I'm just a bit dizzy. It wasn't even mine in the first place, was the thought I should have been having, but it was hard to think that way because of my natural, human greed. YCOL.A smiled at my appearance. Young master, you look really ugly right now. How could you be so cruel all of a sudden? But you really do look ugly, how can she be so cruel to a person that just went through all that? YCOL.A was, at times, unexpectedly evil. Then YCOL.A grabbed the end of my clothes. I wondered what was up, and noticed that she was pointing to a restaurant we had just passed by. I then asked YCOL.A. You're hungry? I am, but eating some dumplings will also fix young master's face. Oh, you want me to eat? You're actually the one who's hungry though. I wasn't opposed to the idea of stopping by to eat, but I didn't have much time. I felt like it would be wiser to first arrive at our destination first. What do I do, should I really just run there? I felt like I could do it with my current body. I thought for some time while looking at YCOL.A who was grabbing my clothes. I think we should run starting now, but what do I do with you? Ha. Ooh. I'm really good at run. Maybe I should just carry you. What did you say just now? I thought I heard her say something. I was going to ask her what she said, but she suddenly sat on the ground. Because she suddenly sat down while grabbing my clothes, I was also shaken by it. Oh, ow, ow. Then she let out an awkward scream. What just happened? My legs. It hurts. I think I'm injured. What? That's bad then. Should we go back to the medic room? We are in a hurry. I don't think I'm that hurt. So you can walk then. Dang it. What does she want? It was the first time I'd seen YCO so conflicted with her thoughts. After hesitating for so long, YCO finally spoke with a small voice. "CA, carry me." After saying that, her ears turned slightly red. I was shocked at what I just saw. So she gets embarrassed too, huh? I thought she couldn't feel embarrassment. Haha. I let out a laugh and YCO sulked at my reaction. I slowly lowered my body, and turned my back to her. YCO carefully wrapped her hands around my neck and made herself comfortable. After feeling the heat on my back, I got up. I suddenly felt the urge to be mean, so I teased YCO. "Ah. You're heavy." YCO shouted after being surprised. "I'm not." "You are, it feels like I'm carrying a boulder." "You're so cruel." Let me down." "Nah, too late." "When was it?" I felt like something like this had happened before. But it didn't have the happy atmosphere like we were in right now, not that YCO would remember anyways. I was the only one who remembered what had happened back there. And I will be the only one to remember in the future as well. It wouldn't be good anyways if something like this was to happen again. I used my chi to burst into a run while carrying YCO. I was shocked for a second because of how fast and high I jumped. I thought that YCO would be having fun with the winds that were hitting her, but instead she buried her face in my back. I thought that running at this rate, I would make it to the destination without any problems. Childhood friend of the Zenith Advanced CH pictures available on our site, illustrations on our Discord. You can rate this series here. We are recruiting. We are looking for Korean translators. For more details please join Genesis Discord server. Chapter 39. Way back, 2, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Way back, 2. The rain cascading from the sky was a tempestuous and forceful shower. The moon was hidden behind dark clouds, and the droplets that fell from the sky felt heavy to touch. We ran like crazy through the forest engulfed in darkness. Even though I'd empowered myself with chi, my feet still felt heavy. I thought to myself after running for so long, how much did I run for? How long has it been? How long, how long? How long did I survive? My legs that had been scraped and were screaming in agony. Telling me to stop running, to rest, but I didn't stop. I couldn't stop. Something trickled down my hands. Was it the rain? I was trying to be optimistic with my thinking, but of course I was wrong. The liquids flowing down my hands were too warm to be rain droplets. I clenched my teeth. I couldn't afford to stop. Wake up. I shouted, but there was no response from behind me. Because of that, I used even more chi to boost my speed. I was running out of time. I felt like more and more blood was flowing down my hands. Fuck. Wake up. I shouted again, but the response remained the same. So I held on to her more tightly. To never let her go. What the hell am I wasting so much energy for? I thought to myself. How come I wasn't able to just leave this girl? I knew that she would only be a burden, so why did I carry her all the way here? And why was I still doing the same while running as if I was dying? I didn't have an answer. So I kept running. My eyes had started to bleed. I felt a pain from my lower abdomen, and my body was signaling me that I used up all of my chi. My heart was beating like crazy. Then I felt something else escaping my body. Because I'd run out of chi, I was burning my life energy. The feeling of it escaping me made my lips quiver, god damn it. The breathing behind me was getting lighter and lighter. My heart was only beating faster, the complete opposite of what was happening behind me. The presence that was chasing me was gone, but I couldn't stop running. I wasn't sure if I'd really escaped that monster. Where is this? How far did I run? My trembling legs had already gone numb a while ago. Suddenly, a cave in the forest entered my sights. I couldn't even see where I was. But I had no other choice. As I went deeper into the cave, the sound of the rain got further away, leaving the quiet stillness of the cave. Struggling with my exhausted body, I managed to arrive at a wider part of the cave. The instant I released my chi, I almost collapsed on the ground. All my bones were screaming in pain, but I first carefully laid down the person I was carrying. The straight scar on her chest was bleeding profusely. She was still breathing, but it was faint. I placed my trembling hand near her injury and channeled my chi around it. As I was practically out of chi, I was using my life force, but that didn't affect my actions. Shit. Why isn't the blood stopping? However, even after all my efforts, she kept bleeding. I suddenly wobbled. I'd used too much chi in a short amount of time. Why, just why? Someone lightly grabbed the hands that were trying to stop the bleeding. T-O-P. The voice was almost out of life. I shouted in frustration, what do you mean by stop? Just shut it, at this rate, you will die. Oka, shut up, so why did you do such a thing when I never asked you to? This all happened because of you, so I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want. So please just shut up and think about living. I couldn't say that last line, because she had already fainted once again. She must live. She can't die in a place like this. She had to live. I could not let her die in a place like this, but then what am I supposed to do? God damn it. Using more energy meant that I would also faint. And she would inevitably die. I clenched my teeth and pushed myself further to continue, but my heart wasn't listening. Please, please. I was desperate. This shitty world had never given me anything good in life. And it was the same right now. We'd been pushed to the edge of a cliff, just once. Just once you can help me. Can't you help me just once? You've been so cruel up until now, so surely you can help me just this once. I get that I'm unlucky, but not even helping me once. It was a futile thought, complaining to heavens didn't get me an answer. Since they weren't even on my side in the first place. How long has it been? And how much life do I have left in me? Just as my life force was about to be extinguished, how pathetic. My chi froze. Not because of my own will, but someone else's. The voice that came from behind me left my body frozen. Since when? There was only one entrance to the cave. Even if I was using my chi on something else, it should have been impossible for me not to notice the intrusion. Eddie, it wasn't all that fun. I'm not really a fan of hide and seek after all. I struggled to breathe. Just because of it being nearby, all my muscles had started to scream in pain. It felt like all the air in the world had disappeared. Shivering, I turned my neck, and looked at him. Despair. Despair stood where I looked. There is nothing more pathetic than a human chasing for a meaningless hope. What are you? You are better at running your mouth than I expected. It was a monster. There was no other way to put it. The thing looked at us, and smiled. No, to be precise, it was smiling at me. I couldn't tell what it looked like, nor could I make out its voice, but I was weirdly able to see that it was smiling. How amusing, that even while you are in your current situation, you can still show your fangs. The cave that was filled with darkness suddenly brightened. No. It wasn't actually lighting up. The already prevalent darkness was simply swallowed by an even stronger darkness, and now it didn't exist. Fuck. I accidentally cursed out. I tried to resist it, but the feeling that was slowly invading my body was definitely fear. This wasn't something that should have been possible for humans to do. The thing spoke to me while watching me shiver in fear. You asked who I was. In the cave whose space had begun to narrow in size, a strong current of raven winds suddenly kicked up. That wind swallowed the little hope I had left. And completely destroyed the little courage I had left inside me. One step. After only one step, I was able to know that if that thing wanted to, it could take everything away from me with just one finger. But that it was just being generous because it thought it was entertaining. I am. I thought my heart had stopped to the slow voice. My spirit that had been barely holding up finally started to darken. I think it was around then. The heavenly demon. That the world around me stopped. I think it had been around 2 hours since I started running while carrying YCOL. Thanks to the increased amount of chi, I was able to run at great speed even while carrying someone. It's a bit fast, you alright? I asked YCOL. Who buried her face in my back. There was no response. Did you not hear me? I asked again as I thought she didn't hear me the first time, but there was no response again. I thought something was weird, so I stopped running. I thought that she couldn't hear me because of all the wind. What do you think, is it too fast or? Snore. On stopping, I heard a weird noise from behind me. When I looked back, YCOL. Was sleeping while snoring blissfully. It wasn't that she couldn't hear me, she'd just been too busy sleeping. You must have been that comfortable, huh? I said it in a teasing voice, but YCOL. Didn't answer as she was busy snoring. I felt a twinge of spite and thought about waking her up, but eventually I smiled it off and continued my run. Even after running for so long, I was still full of chi. The rate at which my chi recharged was even faster than the speed at which I was spending it, which was surprising. I had heard that the Do clan was known for having clean but dense chi, and I felt that this kind of chi really didn't fit someone like me. Not that I'm complaining. I honestly didn't mind anything so long as it wasn't demonic chi. As long as it wasn't the chi that slowly turned humans insane, I was probably fine with anything. I increased my speed. I had already passed by the Tang clan. Since I had achieved what I came here for, I prioritized reaching my destination. Oh. I should probably have at least introduced myself to the lord of the Tang clan who would appear on the day of the military exhibition of Tang. The fact that I only remembered his appearance now that I'd put a considerable distance between us. I would definitely be getting a scolding from the general for this. But at least I got what I came here for. I was successful in stopping the Gaichin clan from acquiring the secret vault. Now that I had time and thought about it, the item that the lord of the Gaichin clan got was probably the marble that the snake spat out. I wasn't exactly sure if the chi that the marble held was enough to make the lord of Gaichin reach the fusion rank. But it seemed most likely to be the case. And I guessed that it was probably quite impressive of me to even absorb that much energy from the marble, even though I wasn't able to extract it all. I guess it's better than not absorbing anything. But the moonlight marbles on the other hand. Sigh, let's just not think about that. My chi had shook for a second due to my thinking about the moonlight marbles and I felt like I would rage if I thought about them any longer. Sometime later, I saw a town farce. I felt like I should start to walk from here, so I stopped and put YCOL. On the ground. Wake up, we're here. YCOL. Rubbed her eyes, struggling to keep them open. I wanted to wake her up quicker, so I bonked her head. Ow. Thanks to the surprise attack, YCOL.'s eyes quickly opened. A servant that sleeps on their master's back, and even worse, snores while doing it. I snored. YCOL. Stood in shock following my comment about her snoring. I smiled after looking at her. Yeah, you were really good at it too. I thought that it was a tiger for a moment. Lies, I swear to heaven that I'm being serious. Not the part about her sounding like a tiger, of course. YCOL put on a sad face after I told her I swore to the heaven. I heard her mumble the words of, no way, while she followed behind me. I wasn't the one who asked to be carried in the first place. We entered the town while YCOL was still in shock. We had to find the people from the Gu clan in this town. It wasn't a hard task to accomplish. Thanks to the increased amount of my chi, my range for detecting presence had also widened. All I had to do was just find Muyin's chi. And what do you know, it was closer than I thought. Even better, it seemed to be getting closer. Young master. From far away, someone dressed in the iconic clothing of the Gu clan was running towards us. I don't know how he knew, but it was Muyin. Muyin ran up to us. His relieved expression harbored a tint of grudge. WH. Where were you for the past few days? Muyin suddenly stopped talking, he seemed to have noticed my changes. He then asked confusedly, did something happen? To Muyin's words, I responded while scratching my cheek. I guess I could say that, How do I put this, he wasn't the only one that was surprised. I was now able to know better. That Muyin was a very skilled martial artist. What the hell, he's at the peak of first rate at that age. I think Muyin just barely reached the age of 20. It was strange. To see that such a martial artist never spread his name even till the day I died. And it was even stranger that I wasn't aware even though he was a part of the Gu clan. I wondered what was up with that. Sorry, I had something to do. But even so, you should have just taken me with you. What would happen if something were to happen to the young master, do you know how much I was worried about you? Sorry, but hey, nothing happened right. This was certainly true, as nothing did happen to us, whether on our way to or back from the secret vault. However, the fact that I ran away for 3 days without saying anything was still my fault in the end. Now, putting that aside, there remained one question I needed to ask Muyin. Say, yes. Can I ask you a question? Yes. What do you want to know? Why are there 2 more useless presences here? In the place that I'd picked for us to reunite, I could feel 2 presences that weren't welcomed at all. Muyin stood silently for a second, seemingly confused as to what I was talking about. I thought that the young master called them. You thought I called those guests. That's what they told me, so I massaged my forehead upon hearing that. From far away, I was able to feel 2 familiar presences in the guest rooms. Those guests were Namgung Bai and Tang Soyol. Childhood friend of the Zenith.